ほら、ルフィ、今一緒に海賊になる仲間を探してるんだ。
Hello guys, welcome to my channel The Wandering Zoro, your go-to destination for anime-related content. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. In today's video, we're going to be diving into part 1 of the series. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. A young green-head boy with black tips with diamond-shaped freckles covering cheeks and his enrolled green eyes, filled with curiosity and excitement. Next to him is a slightly taller girl with the same emerald green eyes, except her hair blonde with dark green strips in odd places. A tall green-head woman wearing a black bodysuit with green lines and a skeletal pattern on her body with a dark green cap, and 2 golden circles holding the cape on sits. Behind the 2 kids, that's when an old man in his 60s walks in. His pale complexion and his pure white lizard scales covers a long muscular tail coming out of the bottom of his spine. He speaks up, his voice very professional. Court Doctor, Inko Yagi, just the person I was looking for. I have some good news and bad news about your son Izuki Yagi and daughter Izumi Yagi. Inko, can we get this over with? I have a hero agency to run. Court Doctor, of course, of course. Well, let's start with the good news. Izumi has a very powerful telekinesis quirk, but it will not work on any living organism. And unlike yours, which has a size or weight limit, she has a time limit. She can use it 15 minutes before she starts to get an internal brain bleed. Inko and Izuku? Court Doctor. Well, there's no nice way to put this. Your son is quirkless. I've done all the tests, and they all come back with no sign for any quirk genes, or any chance of ever awakening. A few hours later, we see Deku playing in the park with a blue-head girl and a brown-head boy. Deku, keep up, Issei. Deku says while running backwards and looking at the brown-head boy. Issei is keeping up, but out of breath. They hate into the forest behind the path and play for hours. Deku, Marinette, what time is it? The blue-head girl pulls out a small flip phone covered in ladybugs, and she sees it's late. They look around confused when they look at his pitch black. Issei, down at camp tonight? Deku, I mean, we won't be able to go far in this lighting, and besides, my parents wouldn't care. Marinette, my mom and dad's letting me stay out tonight since they haven't reported business meeting about a bakery opening up in Paris. So yeah, it looks like, well, good for tonight. That's when a loud crash is heard. They look around confused as a giant ball of fire twice above them and hits some trees a little ways away. Being the curious kids there, they go and check it out. It walked around 10 minutes before finding a slick gray spaceship with green markings all over it in a huge crater. They walk to the edge before the ground starts to shape a little and the edge crumbles. They all slide it down the crater as it just before they hit the weird ship. The wall opens up and they fall straight into a laboratory that is damaged but still works. Deku, we're in an alien spaceship. Issei, cool, what if there's any aliens in here? Marinette, hey, what's that? She points at a damaged capsule. Deku walks up to it, and before Marinette could tell him to wait, the capsule opens to reveal a damaged watch with the frame completely disfigured and sparking. The only part of it that's still intact is a raised earth-up cylinder. As Deku touches it, the cylinder pops out. Deku looks at it confused, but then a few projectors in the corners of a laboratory turn on, projecting a great creature wearing a black bodysuit with the same hourglass logo as on the cylinder from the watch, with big green eyes and a Forg-like appearance. Azimuth. I am Azimuth, creator of the Omnitrix. If you're watching this message, then my creation has been destroyed, and the only part that stays intact is the core of this ship. We'll do a scan of genetics before this message will continue. That's when 3 green beams of light hits Deku, Marinette, and Issei and stays on them for a solid few seconds before showing their personal data on 3 smaller holograms next to the big one. They look at Marinette's first. Species, Kryptonian. Gender, female. Age 4. They look at Deku's information next. Species, human. Gender, male. Age 4. Quirk gene, destroyed, no chance for human to unlock any abilities. They look towards the last one in the group. Species, ancient dragon. Human. Gender, male/female. Age, 4/ageless. That's where nearly grown is heard from Issei, right hand as a red gauntlet resembling a dragon's claw with a green gem and the golden spikes coming off it. Okay, who the hell woke me up? Deku walks up to the gauntlet and takes it into his hand and looks around it in curiosity and amazement. Feminine laughing is heard from the gauntlets as Deku runs his fingers across every scale that makes up the gauntlet's frame. Deku, very interesting. The scales are tough, but to very soft and smooth. And I'm guessing your soul with shield inside of it. That's why you have complete conscious of your user, which could be either genetic or transferred. Before Deku could start muttering, he quickly snaps out of it, and it looks back towards the hologram of Azimuth. Azimuth, the device you hold in your hands is the Omnitrix core. I designed it to be a way to unite all the species of the universe, but in its creation, one of my assistants wanted to use it for war, so, in its attempt, I sent it to a faraway planet. And if you're reading this message, that means it has crashed onto a planet. I'm going to have to keep the rest of this short for you. You can find plenty of tools and other items inside of this place. The Omnitrix is a powerful device. Do not let it fall into the wrong hands. Deku listens intensely while looking around the place. Then he finds a console against one of the panels. He touches it as it turns on. A Deku scours through the files and finds the base blueprints for the Omnitrix's base. It takes a look at it and sees a slight amount of flaws in its design, but thinks about sorting that out when he gets to it. Okay, what's his deal? I mean, 1 second he's looking at me like a dragon sees treasure with the equivalent of an information stat sheet. Marinette. Next second is finding something else to study. Yeah, that's for you, our Izuku, Oyi. Deku. Marionette, can I see that necklace you got on? Marinette chucks Deku a black chain necklace with half being blue with the other half being green, and they form in a swirl heart pattern. Deku pull out in magnifying glass before checking it over a few times. Deku, whose expression turns serious. Deku, just as I expected, blue and green kryptonite. Marinette, what are you saying? Shouldn't I be? You know, Dad, I've had that necklace for years. Deku, looks like blue kryptonite was counteracting the green kryptonite, but by doing so, if you're in a close proximity to it, it makes you a regular human. Get far enough away, or encase it in lard, and boom, you have the same power set as Superman. But I'm going to have to run some tests on it to know what would happen with too much exposure to it for humans. Over the next 3 weeks, Deku spent it doing research and building the Omnitrix. Marinette spent her training with, and without her powers, building up muscle and flexibility with Issei, decides to do the same with Marinette. Deku, what leans back in his chair and looking at the finished product. It features a predominantly black and green color scheme with gray accents. The device has a distinctive, elongated, and somewhat angular design, resembling a stylized gauntlet or arm-mounted device rather than a traditional wristwatch shape. Marinette walks in slightly painting, but looking around for something. Her eyes then lock with the finished on the Omnitrix. She lets out an impressed whistle. Marinette, what a beauty. Hey, you seen the casing for my necklace? I would like to continue with my powers. Deku chucks Marinette a lead casing for her necklace. She immediately puts her necklace in it and clicks it on as she feels her body get stronger. Deku, Issei went home? Marinette, not exactly. He's currently training in a cave to master his new dragon side with Lilith. So how goes your research on kryptonite? Deku, I figured out if kryptonite touches in a way, they merge like a jigsaw piece. They will have completely different effects. Like we know, when you mix blue and green, you get one that practically makes you a human. But if you merge gold and platinum, as long as it touches a human skin, there will be a Kryptonian with kryptonite. But it has to be pure skin, and the practical make sure I drunk Superman. Meaning blood vision nausea. Marinette, good to know. So you can put the thing on, or... Deku, I'm currently running diagnostics on the Omnitrix core before I even attempted to put it on, and I've currently memorized the first set of aliens. And over 100 different ways to use them in every situation. Deku saffron over 5 minutes before he getting notification on a hologram that diagnostics are 100% complete compatibility, 100% no flaws in genetics from his quirk genes, and his Omnitrix design has a 78.9% similarities with the previous design. Deku reaches out and touches the Omnitrix, his fingers gliding across the frictionless surface. As soon as he touches the core, the body blows a dark green before turning into a somewhat of a liquid state, and it leaps onto Deku's arm with the core being by his elbow. Is searing pain shoots a Deku of arm as his veins turn black for a few seconds before turning back normal. Deku can feel his heart pumping, Before looking after the Omnitrix, he runs his finger against the surface of the Omnitrix. He touches the small block off the ground in the center of the Omnitrix. When he presses it, a beep is heard from the watch as the call raises up. He goes through his sight of aliens, his eyes never. Leaving the coal, we see a black spaceship with red bubble-like structures are built into it. We cut inside of a tube. A squid-like person is inside of it, half of his body destroyed. Random goon. Lord Vilgax have found the Omnitrix. It is on Earth like you expected. Vilgax sent some drones to collect the Omnitrix. Deku stands outside his body, completely made of magma, with 2 holes on both of his shoulders, flames coming out of it in between the cracks of the magma. Is fire with his head, scorching flames. Deku continues to train until a loud explosion is heard. Marinette, Deku, and Issei immediately run it to the location. Deku powers down the Omnitrix. Before getting to the park, they hide behind a tree while watching some pro heroes trying to attack free robots that look like they have eyes of a fly. They watch until one of the pro heroes are about to get stabbed by a claw from the robot. Deku immediately presses the button on the Trix and slams down the core. His body gets encased in a light blue crystal. It immediately shatters as Deku stands so, blocking at the attack. His body looks like it's completely made of blue diamonds, while he wears a half-black, half-white bodysuit with the Omnitrix on his left pack. Deku, Diamond Head, robot, Omnitrix found. Marinette immediately puts up a hood on her jumper before flying full speed into the robot, ripping right through it. Robot 2. Warning, Kryptonian found under yellow sun, beginning defense protocol. Deku immediately clenches his fists as his hands become blocky with a bunch of spikes on the end. He points them at the robot before diamond shards shoot at the robot as it opens its chest to reveal green kryptonite. Marinette immediately closes and necklace casing. It's a Deku, great crystals on his feet, stabbing into the ground as they start to cover the floor and then skewer both robots. The robot with the kryptonite start beeping. Deku immediately stopped both of his hands into the ground and case it in a very thick layer of crystals. That's when a small robot disengages from the straggler. It's about to fly off, but a beam of ruby red light hits it, blowing it up. Deku grabs the kryptonite from the robot before throwing them to Issei. He immediately puts them inside of a lead box. That's when voices I heard. Deku immediately changes to a blue raptor-like creature with the same black and white bodysuit with black and white zebra stripes going down its tail. It has 2 black balls in each of its feet with a pointed head that goes back. Deku, XLR8. I think we should go. Marinette opens her necklace before disappearing. Deku runs and picks up Issei and heads back to the ship. When they get into, Deku immediately stops and puts down Issei. Issei, okay, a warning next time, but thanks. We cut a few years later. Deku is sitting alone on top of Might Tower with both legs crossed. He hears sirens in the distance. He stands up and starts to stretch. He turns in a heat blast. Deku, heat blast. Deku leaps off the building, igniting his feet in the sense of a thruster. He flies through the air. Deku's thoughts. It's been 9 years since that day. We've learned a lot about the Omnitrix. For starts off, the original creator was against me having it until he saw what I was capable of with it now. And again, he gets in touch with me. Marinette moved to Paris with her parents. They run a small bakery, and we found out when Krypton was destroyed, she went into stasis until her parents found her and took her. And Issei and Lalith moved to a small town, but still keeping contact with us. We traveled the galaxy, kicked Vilgax's, but multiple times I launched him into space twice and got huge. Noticed by the Justice League, refused them multiple times, and of course, kind of stopped holding back. Deku flies right above a armored truck being chased by police, and some heroes. Deku rocket himself ahead of them old, and immediately fired 2 fireballs that curved and hit the back wheels at the exact same time, causing the truck to slow down before the truck could hit Deku. It stops. 20 villains hop out, and they all get ready to fight. Deku clicks his knuckles as all of the villains go to attack him, but Deku immediately punches one of them straight in the face with the smell of burned flesh. They all step back in slight fear. But Deku does a Super Saiyan-like Charger app with the flames on his head going wild, but without scorching anything. Deku then put both of his fists together and fires a huge wave of flames, melting the road, stopping the villains in that steps. Deku hits the Omnitrix that is on his left pack. A green flash enveloped Deku as he changes into a skinny blue humanoid figure with 4 giant blue moth-like wings. His skin is blue-black with odd spots of white. Big chill / Deku, big chill. Stealing isn't cool, man. But you know what is cold? Your jail cells. A huge gust of light blue smoke comes out of Deku's mouth as the air rapidly cools, making the concrete go completely solid. 2 seconds later, this cop cars catch up and pull up next to Deku. One of the cops .8 gun at Deku before getting stopped by a man in a brown trench coat. Big chill, Detective Tsukachi. Detective Tsukachi, bin 10, it's been around. I see you're back in action. I'll have this cleaned up, thanks for keeping the collateral damage to a minimum. Big chill, no problem. Random police officer, you are under arrest for vigilantism. Big chill, he knew? Detective Tsukachi, stand down, he's an ally. Yeah, he is. He doesn't know about the rule we have with you and your 2 friends. Deku immediately goes transparent, with the only thing being seen is blue outlines of his frame as 2 ropes from a taser hit. Where Deku once was, they pass right through him. As the current hit the floor, Deku turns to the police officer and quickly analyzes him for any mutations, and sees he has the penguin feathers covering his arms, with his arms being somewhat of flippers. Deku takes a deep breath before freezing the bottom half of the police officer. Big chill. We'll sort him out. He's lucky I wasn't Wrath. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been cool for him. See you around, detective. Deku flies off and goes intangible right through a building. As soon as he lands on the other side, the Omnitrix flashes red twice before a red glow envelopes him as he stands there in a white hoodie with the number 10 on his chest being black with the Omnitrix symbol inside of the number 0. He slipped both hands in his pockets before walking off. The next day, Deku is sat in class, the Omnitrix completely covered by his sleeve, but he has 2 dark bags under his eyes like he hasn't slept in days. 2 blonde kids stand in front of Deku's desk, both of them having short, messy hair, except one being feminine, while the other slightly muscular boy. Deku, Katsuki Katsumi. Katsuki, we're getting tired if you always hung up late to class, and then upstaging us all the time. Katsumi, besides you still wanting to be a hero because your outlook that strong. Deku's thoughts? I physically don't have to work out since the Omnitrix makes me a peak of that age for the species, including my human, but I still work out now, and again, early does a really show since, we go up like a tweak, a very buff twig. Deku, of course I'm attempting to go to UA. I might even make it into the hero course. Izumi, no offense, you're the fail brother, I'm the perfected, and if I wanted I could get in on recommendation. Because at least our parents care about me. Deku flips Izumi the middle finger. He then watches the time go by in the class. Everybody leaves after the bell goes off. At the end of the day, Deku get up and sees the Bakugo twin stood next to one tall girl with long, messy, half red hair that is split down the middle, with a boy almost the exact same, except slightly more muscular and shorter hair. Izumi stands in the front, making a pencil float in front of her. Deku, listen, Izumi, Shoto, Shoko, Katsuki, and Katsumi. I had a busy night last night. I have 10 months till you ain't in trance exam, which I will be taking no matter what, and I need to get some sleep, so if you don't mind moving out my way. But it looks like I'm going to have to take the scenic route. Deku opens the window, sits on the window frame before flipping them all off and falling backwards out of the window. He lands outside on his feet, sorts out his bag, and walks off. A few minutes later, Deku is stood underneath the underpass. That's when a shoe of grape pops up right behind Deku and flies, hitting the ground in front of him. He turns around and comes face to face with a giant pile of sludge. Villain raises an eyebrow as the sludge villain gets into a stance and then leaps right at Deku. Immediately ducks as a huge blonde man, filled to the brim with muscles, throw a punch, splattering the sludge villain everywhere. Deku gets ready to walk away before the Dek, who feels a big firm hand on his shoulder. Deku, All Might, I am warning you as a civilian, remove your hand from my clothes. All Might remove his hand from Deku's shoulder. Deku reaches into his trousers pockets and pulls out a baby wipe and quickly wipes the goo off his hoodie. Deku, I just got one question. Can I become a hero even if I don't have a quirk? Deku waits for All Might's answer, internally knowing what is going to be. All Might, you want to be a hero even without a quirk? It is not realistic. You just seen that villain firsthand, and yet you didn't do anything to try and defend yourself. So I honestly don't think you could be a hero without a quirk. Deku, another hypocrite. Listen, All Might, I'll see you around, hopefully not pretty soon. All Might, what does Deku walk off? All Might look around and notices the sludge villain is gone. His eyes widen, as just as Deku gets out of sight, he reverts to his skinny form. He's half the size as he was, and he looks like even the slightest wind would snap his bones. He coughs out a bunch of vital fluid. While looking around panicked, Deku continues to walk and kicks it, sending it to flying pretty far away. Deku, I wonder if Marinette and Issei will be heading to UA. I wonder if All Might has realized the sludge film got away yet. First rule of being a hero: secure the villain, then check on the civilians. The ground shakes as a huge explosion goes off at not far from Deku. Deku rolls his eyes before heading towards it. He sees a bunch of people swarming around an alleyway. Beckham squeezed past and fluently. Like somebody who's been doing it for ages, he sees a bunch of pro heroes trying to contain the sludge villain, while he sees two heads of familiar blonde hair caught inside of the sludge villain. Deku's thoughts: Death Arms slightly weaker than Kicking Hawk, but also has more force behind his attacks. Kamui Woods, can you technically manipulate his body in any shape or form, but against the fire, but he's doing his best to get over civilians out the way. Backdraft, kind of like water hazard, except he can manipulate the water. Deku slips both arms into his pockets and goes under the yellow tape. Before anything could be said, Death Arms is about to touch Deku's shoulder, but Deku stops and removes his hoodie. Kamui Woods, kid, do you mind getting behind the yellow tape? Deku, hey Booger Brain, how about you let those two go, and we can settle this since you messed up my hoodie. Sludge villain, you're the kid from a minute ago, and All Might attacked. Deku, listen, didn't go on it two ways. You let the civilians go, I kick your butt nicely. I rip them out of you, and then kick your butt the good old-fashioned. Sludge villain, auction C, I kill you, and take both of these perfect bodies. Deku holds his jacket out to Kamui Woods. Deku, hold my beer. Deku hands his hoodie over to Kamui Woods. Deku turns on Omnitrix. The dial pops up. He twists it twice and taps it. A bright green flash envelopes Deku. Stands as tall as All Might with bright red skin, huge muscles and forearms. He wears a black and white bodysuit with the Omnitrix on his top, right shoulder on a somewhat of shoulder guard. He has 4 arms and slowly walks towards the sludge villain. Deku, 4 arms. Sludge villain, OHNO, you are Ben 10. 4 arms. Of course I am, and you've already chose option 2. Deku immediately rushes at the sludge villain, grabs the Bakugo twins, and rags them out off the sludge villain. Deku then punches the ground, creating a shockwave. He then grabs the sludge villain's eyes and mouth and rips them away from his body. The ground completely immobile. Deku WhatsApp to a sheet of metal and bends it into a ball around the sludge villain's eyes and mouth. You then place it on the ground in front of the heroes before transforming back. Deku, backdraft, I need you to concentrate on the higher fires, work your way down. Backdraft, you got it. Death Arms, who put you in charge, kid? Deku twists the watch a few times after finding the alien. He taps it down. A bright green flash involves his body as a tall, skinny robot-looking person who is dark red and has small circles on his body that pop out like hose connectors with blue on the inside. Deku, water hazard. Deku rashes at the power lines and rips them off, stopping any electricals getting there. The fire. Deku holds both of his hands out and starts spraying powerful streams of water from his hands, extinguishing the fires. He looks at the pile of mush that was the sludge feeling's body. He touched the Omnitrix located in the center of his chest and turns into Big Chill. Deku, Big Chill, let's put this sludge on ice. Deku takes a deep breath before freezing the entire pile of sludge. His wings wrap around him, forming somewhat of a cloak. Death Arms, I was talking to you, kid, who put you in charge. And why are you using your quirk without a license? Big Chill, make sure this sludge stays on ice, otherwise we will have a problem. Deku heads back to Kamui, which transforms back to normal. That's when a few girls I heard screaming, making everybody confused, but then they see the girls holding and wearing Ben 10 themed clothing while holding a banner labeled "We Love Ben 10." Death Arms is stood there completely shocked. Deku, thanks for looking after it. Deku says while taking his hoodie back. Kamui Woods, no problem. Can I ask for an autograph? I'm a huge fan of Swampfire. Deku pulls out a pen and writes Swampfire on Kamui Woods' hero costume on a small strip used for handing out autographs. Deku, I'll see you around. Before Deku could walk off, All Might appears in his bath form, While looking at Deku notices free emotions in All Might's eyes: disappointment, anger, and disappointment. All Might, you're Ben 10, right? Or should I say Izukayagi? Deku, I've never once hid my identity, I just don't like being in the spotlight. That's when a huge shadow appears over the area. Deku's eyes narrow dangerously as Vilgax stands there, his presence intimidating to everybody. Deku, if you'll excuse me, All Might, have to go and fight my villain like usual. Before Deku could finish, All Might rushes at Vilgax, punches him full force. A giant explosion could be heard from everywhere in the city. When the dust cloud disappears, Vilgax is stood there with All Might fist straight into his chest. But Vilgax Deku even seemed that bothered. He backhands All Might straight into the building next to him. Vilgax, you know what, I'm here for Ben Tennyson. Deku, yeah, you ain't gonna get it, you know how this goes. Deku taps the Omnitrix as a silhouette of Way Big appears in front of Deku, grains like a psychopath. Deku slams down the watch as a huge glow happens. A second later, a 300-foot-tall man who has white body spikes coming out of his ears pointing down as a 45-degree angle, a long mohawk on top of his head with spikes on his elbows and fins on his waist pointing up down his body. He has reed areas and golden eyes. The Omnitrix sit firmly in the center of his chest. Vilgax looks at Deku. Way Big. Before anything it could be said, Deku froze both hands down in a hammer slam, smashing Vilgax into the concrete. Deku then rails, "Is this back?" and froze haymakers straight down on Vilgax for a solid 5 minutes before he starts. Looks down at Vilgax, picks him up, gets in a baseball stance, and launches him right through his ship straight past orbit into the deep vacuum of space. Deku is about to sort himself out, but then the Omnitrix flashes red twice, and then he turns back to normal. Deku, right, need to ease up on the transformation. That's when a woman wearing a white and purple bodysuit with 2 horns on her head to Deku with stars in her eyes. Mount Lady. Hi, I'm MT Lady. I'm like huge fan of Way Big. Deku, listen, I can't do any more autographs today. I'm kinda got places to be. Mount Lady, can I at least get a selfie with you? Deku, I'm in a good mood, one selfie. Mount Lady quickly wraps her arms around Deku and takes a picture. Deku, by the way, you're kind of a situational hero with only having 2 sizes. You can switch between, try and make it so you can slowly build up your size, like stopping midway through your size change. Before anything it could be said, Deku immediately walks away, disappearing into the crowd, leaving the heroes. To do the cleanup, Deku put his headphones in. Deku pulls out his phone and plays Faint Linkin Park. Deku walks around helping people with other jobs like helping cats out of trees, old ladies across the road, and helping random people in general. The sun getting used a set, and Deku head home. We stand right in front of the door to the Yagi's household thank you winners to see both of his so-called parents sitting there angry. Inko, what do you think you're doing, and how long have you had that thing on your arm? Deku, I don't owe you anything. All Might, what gives you the right to show me up like that, especially against a villain? Deku, Vilgax, that's that villain's name. I've been facing him since I was 4, but you didn't know anything about me, would you? Deku heads straight to his room and closes the door. The next day, Deku gets up and looks around his room. He shakes his head before walking out of there with both hands in his pockets. Deku heads out of his room and notices the Yagis eating breakfast, but Deku rolls his eyes and heads out, is about to open the door. When he does, he's a tall, muscular man dressed in a back-like hero costume, with a giant bat symbol on his chest, stood next to a man, waiting a bright blue bodysuit, red boots, red gloves, and red cake with a giant S on his suit and a pair of red undies on the outside. Almighty looks at the door to see 2 of the strongest heroes in the world at their front door. All Might, what are you 2 doing here? You never visit Japan. Deku bats. Soups, it's been a while. So what brings you to here? Superman, well, it's mainly about your fight with Vilgax yesterday. Now I know he's your villain, and you've been dealing with him for years, but maybe leave the whole or space stuff to us. Deku, why you really here? Because we both know it's not because of Vilgax. Batman, we need your help with Darkseid. Deku stops for a second, and it can sense the Yagi's eyes whitening. Deku, be there in 10. Superman picks up Batman and flies towards the ocean at breakneck speed. Deku walks into his room and grabs a bright green jacket with a black stripe going down one side with a number 10 on it. You put the jacket on before sending a message on a group chat, and he walks the front door. Deku, see you in a bit, idiots. Deku twists the Omnitrix and slaps it down. Where Deku once stood now stands XLR-8, slightly taller with a more streamlined body, a black face mask covering the opening of Deku's head immediately closes as statue immediately books, it instantly breaking the sound barrier in 0.3 seconds, and it's sprinting across the ocean deck. He makes his way to a city in America where he hears loud explosions and laser beams find into the sky. Deku slightly leans forward here, going even faster. He sees a huge, muscular gray person with red eyes and a blue battle armor. Deku immediately stops next to Batman. XLR-8, so what's the situation? Batman, we've been fighting him for a few hours now, and we can't seem to wear him down enough. XLR-8, my crew be here in 5 minutes. A tall girl with long, dark hair, red lips, and a golden tiara with a red star on her forehead. Her costume consists of her iconic red and gold bodice with the WW emblem, a star-spangled blue skirt, silver bracelets on her wrists, and red and white boots. Jets slammed right next to Deku, and he raises an eyebrow. He helps her up. She looks at him and gives him a sweet smile. XLR-8, you good, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, yeah, Darkseid is just way more annoying today. The Omnitrix beeps twice before Deku stands there blinking. Deku F. A minute later, Marinette arrives with her hood up and her necklace closed. Issei lunges next to her and stretches his wings, his eyes locked with Darkseid. Deku sees a brand new bottle of beer laying on the concrete there, who picks it up, pops it open, and takes a swig. That's when the Omnitrix lets out a beep as Deku looks at it with agree. Marinette, looks like we're in action. Superman, glad to have you here now. How are we going to? Before Superman could even finish his words, Deku holds the beer right in front of Superman. Deku, hold my beer. In the giant battlefield where civilian screams can be heard for miles, those two words echo, even though they were barely above a whisper. Darkseid looks towards Deku. Marinate and Issei. Deku slaps down the Omnitrix and turns into a 7 feet 10 inches tall, skinny humanoid figure, white and green, with glowing green sections on its head, shoulders, chest, arms, and legs. The design features a prominent Omnitrix symbol on the chest and a powerful, armored appearance. Darkseid eyes widen slightly before 2 red beams shoot out of his eyes and hit Deku. Deku wipes off the scorch marks. Deku, nuclear winner. Deku swirls his hands as a bright green nuclear bomb goes off and Darkseid's face the Justice League, defending themselves with everything they have. Lilith explosion. Sparks of rainbow colors comes off the red gauntlet on S.A.'s left arm as he immediately punches Darkseid in the stomach as a giant explosion twice the size of Deku's, and it flashes billions of different colors in seconds. The explosion dies down with Darkseid barely able to stand. Deku then points up as Marinette flies straight down in a bowl of fire and punches Darkseid's bald head as an explosion rivaling the force of 8 atomic bombs goes off. Deku powers down the Omnitrix, smirking at Darkseid, barely able to stand with at least 100 broken bones. He immediately teleports away, and Deku looks around confused. He then realizes the situation of the city. He shakes his head before slapping the Omnitrix again, turning into a clockwork, winding the key on his head back a little before shooting a beam of pure time straight into the air as it closes in, making the city look good as new. The Omnitrix flashes after 5 minutes and then powers down. Deku walks up to Superman and takes his beer back. Batman, hold my beer. Deku, yep. Batman gets a smile on his face while the rest of the Justice League stands there in pure surprise. We see Darkseid flying on a medical bed inside of a very high-tech infirmary, very clinging to life. Darkseid, the last words I heard were, hold my beer. Deku is stood in the middle of the street with the Justice League watching him intensely. Batman, how long till the UA entrance exam? Deku, just over 9 months. The Justice League gives each other silent nods. Superman, we would like it if you spend that time training with the Teen Titans. Deku looks at Marinette and Issei, them having a silent conversation that's not even mind readers could hear. Marinette opens the casing on her necklace, making Superman for face first against the ground, making every biddy confused, but then Deku face palms. Marinette quickly closes, yet slightly blinking at Superman, trying not to let the secret slip. Deku, well, my household situation's kind of all over the place, so sure. Issei? Issei, I've got nothing better to do besides I still need some combat training. So Farmy and Lilith have only picked up punch something hard enough and hope for the best. Marinette, you're going to have to sort that out with my parents. I mean, they wouldn't mind, but it's better to hear it from you or than hearing it from me. Deku/Marinette/Issei. I guess we're in. Deku is currently doing weight, while Marinette and Issei are practicing no powers hunt and combat a little ways away. A short gothic girl wearing a dark blue cloak that wraps around her body except for her face, which is a white with a small red crystal implanted in her forehead. Her dark eyes scan the room with curiosity. Deku sets his weights back down on the bench. Deku, hey Raven, what's up? Raven that seems to glide across the floor right next to Deku and sit on the bench. Raven, you've been here almost a week, and you seem more at home than usual. Deku, in a sense, I've never actually had a home, so this place feels more like it. What do you really want, Raven? Raven, well, I've been sending a huge amount of magic from this room. Want to tell me what that's about? Deku whistles loud, getting Marinette and Issei. They both stop what they're doing and walk over to Deku. Marinette, what's up? Raven, I sense some strong magic from this room. Issei, yeah, that would be me. I'm a reincarnated devil, and I have an ancient dragon sealed inside of me. Lilith, trust me, you do not want to know. Raven looks at the small green glow going from the back of Issei's palm. Raven, okay, what species are all of you? Because I'm just confused. Marinette, I'm a kryptonite. Issei, originally I was human and figured out I have a dragon inside of me, and recently a reincarnated devil. Deku, and I'm just human. Raven's usual blank expression actually shows a hint of confusion before going back to normal. Deku, Marinette, and Issei, the next hour, I need you to concentrate on parkour. Issei, sure. Marinette, understand. Marinette and Issei head off to the giant parkour section and start going at it. Raven, they seem to follow your commands. Deku, I've always been the big brother of the group, and who's technically in charge of them. And since I'm the strongest. Deku looks at Raven's frame and rubs his forehead. Deku, get up and remove some weight from the barbell. Deku, go ahead, I'll spot you. Raven hesitantly gets under it and begins, but slightly struggling. Deku raises an eyewear else, since it's only 45 kilograms on it. Raven just manages to do 50 before her arms almost give out, and Deku sets it back down. Deku, you rely way too much on your abilities. Raven, yes I do. Deku, I have some free time. Wanting to train you properly? Raven hesitantly nods before Deku puts her through the worst training she has ever felt for the next 3 hours. Deku puts Raven through every kind of training in rapid succession. Deku sits on a bench drinking a cold bottle of water, well over, and is on the floor lying knackered. Deku, you good? Raven hesitantly holds up a thumb before passing out. Marinette and Issei walk up to Deku and take a bottle of water each. Issei, yeah, I remember when you put us through that training. I have to admit, though, you don't was hell we wouldn't be like this today if it wasn't for you. Marinette, you should take her to her room. Deku raises an eyebrow before getting a nod from Marinette. Deku lets out a sigh before picking Raven up and carrying her to her room. Deku opens the door to see a dark gothic room with a huge bed in the middle. Deku later on it. Before putting the blanket over her, Deku brushes her master pair out of her face. Raven matters in her sleepy town. Raven, Azarath, Metrian, Zinthos. Deku's confused, but then a black portal appears behind him and sucks him through in a blink of a knife. Deku is in the middle of a bright city with a fight going on. A little what he's away. Deku slips both hands in his pockets, still wearing a casual tight fitted black t-shirt, black jeans, and his usual red shoes. Deku walks over to the fight to see a female for arms wearing a blue and pink bodysuit with instead of the usual hourglass. The hourglass seems to be made of 2 upside-down hearts. Deku's eyes narrow as he watches the female forearms beat up an armored opponent wearing a black armor with blue lights scattered around it. That's when Deku sees a familiar drone fly straight toward the female forearms. Deku's eyes widen before he twisted the Omnitrix and slaps it down in a second. He becomes 4 arms, his body more streamlined than before, but way more muscular. Deku rushes at the brownish drone, grabs the top of it, and rips it off the female forearms, is about to punch the armored figure in the face. Deku sees a face resembling for arms. The only difference is it has a small amount of crystals resembling a beard. Deku immediately runs in front of the girl and catches her fist with one hand. Deku, Tetrax, I don't know this universe's full story, but I know you ain't doing this for the wrong reason. Get out of here before I change my mind. Tetrax, how do you know my name? Deku gives him a glance before he understands he needs to get out of there. He immediately teleports out of there. Deku looks at the female forearms and raises an eyebrow. She continues to struggle for a few seconds before giving up. That's when a kid with the classic Omnitrix, except as Pink walks out of a safe spot. He wears a white t-shirt, a big chain necklace with the same logo as on the Omnitrix on the female forearms. Deku gets a better look at the female forearms and sees, compared to forearms, is bald head. She has longer flowing brown hair, and her eyes are a bright pink, a flash of pink light in the female forearms before Deku looks toward the boy, the Omnitrix powering down to reveal Deku stood there in his workout clothes. Deku, looks like we're in the same kind of boat. Deku raises at the Omnitrix decode, sees the powerhead boy's eyes slightly widen before giving Deku a nod. That's when a bunch of cameras connected to drones come flying past. Well, on a big TV, Deku watches that the news congratulate a man named Ben 23 on the defeating an alien invader, that his eyes narrow and forth, but he brushes it away. Deku follows Ben 23 around his dimension city. They end up in front of a giant tower with a silhouette of a female alien with 3 appendages, 2 coming from the back of her head resembling plugs, and 1 is a tail. Ben 23, I asked the guess game if they can guess the alien. It goes inside of the vault for a year, and then I use it. Deku looks down in sadness. Ben 23, spark plug, that's the name I gave her. Deku, feedback, that's the name I gave that one. Tears start from Deku's face as we see a younger Deku fighting a black person who has uneven portions but has red cybernetic patterns covering his entire body. Deku is currently fighting him as feedback, shooting a powerful beams of lightning straight at the being before the being could do anything. Deku runs in and starts landing haymakers before the being wraps its arm around Deku's neck and rips feedback out of the Omnitrix, this integrating it right in front of Deku. Deku drops to the ground, his eyes widening before its expression turns serious. He turns to the creature and screams, Deku, malware, I'm going to kill you. Deku twists beyond the Trix cord twice and punches malware straight in the stomach as his red lines become green as he starts cheering before they turn black and start breaking out before his body starts pulsing and explodes everywhere. That could leans against a tree, crying with Marinette and Issei hugging him, trying to cheer him up slightly. We kept back to present day. Deku is looking at the silhouette of the female feedback. He wipes away his tears before looking towards Ben 23. Deku, let's go somewhere else. Deku is trying not to cringe at the ridiculous names that Ben 23 gives his aliens, but he notices a play difference between theirs. Deku's allows him to transform into the peak of the alien species, when Ben 23's allows him to summon like a Pokemon of that alien that have to obey him but still have free will. Deku doesn't use his Omnitrix for every little problem like Ben Tiny Fritos, but Deku helps some people with mundane problems. Decor is sitting inside of a restaurant with Ben 23 signing a bunch of autographs for his fans. Deku rolls his eyes before an explosion goes off. Deku slowly gets up, sorting out his t-shirts, and then walking towards it. Then 23 is running over there with a smile. That's when Deku sees a giant robot with a giant mask. Deku, Ben 21, his watch as a female giant dinosaur-like woman with brown scales and a spiky tail, wearing a black bodysuit with a love-hot shape on her chest. Deku watches the fight and notices civilians getting in the crosshairs. Deku turns into XLR8 before immediately rushing towards the civilians and saving them in a second. That you notice as the robot is watching his moves, but then going back to fighting Trisha, the female humongosaur. After 20 minutes of the fighting, Deku sees that Trisha defeated the robot and rips open the faceplate of it to reveal that it is Azimuth from this dimension. Ben 23 stats shaking around, trying to annoy him, but Deku walks up to him and this flaps him across the head before grabbing Azimuth and holding him in the palm of his hand. Azimuth 23, I'm glad to see somebody has some courtesy, not treating me like a rag doll. May I know your name? Deku is Zuku. By my enemies call me Ben 10. So why have you been attacking him? It's kind of unlike you. Azimuth 23, Well, I came here for my device that was meant for the greatest plumber of my dimension, Max Tennyson, but it seems it got into this brat's hand. Ben 23. Grandpa Max died a while ago before I found the hero summoner. Azimuth 23. Shaketrix. Not hero summoner. Azimuth 23 looks at Deku's on the tricks and raises an eyebrows. Azimuth 23. It looks like Max Tennyson died in your dimension as well. Deku. Not exactly. I don't even know who Max Tennyson is. I found this in a broken spaceship, fixed it up, and well now, it's like this, and mine's called the Omnitrix. Azimuth 23 giving Deku a silent gesture of respect before hopping over to Ben 23's arm and ripping the Shaketrix straight off his arm, leaving no damage, and Defu just raises an eyebrow. Deku. That's the design floor that was in the original. Azimuth 23. What do you mean? A few minutes later, Deku is inside of Azimuth 23's workshop inside of a spaceship, and he sees the blueprints in a holographic display of Deku's Omnitrix. Azimuth 23, you said you designed this thing. Does the fact that you fuse it into your bloodstream to not only clear all diseases, also removing any form of poisons and illness, this is from your genetic code, is genius, and the fact that it is literally fused geogenic code in your body, meaning it can't be removed. Deku scratches the back of his head. Deku, well, in your ship was the regular base blueprints, look well the one that crash-landed on my Earth, and while I somewhat figured out that if it was fused to the genetic code on a molecular level, meaning it couldn't be removed by simply hacking it, and removing it that way, since the only way now is to remove it is to rip off my arm, and then even then I fixed the fail-safe making it, so it's any damage seems to be resembling in permanent physical damage, it will immediately transform into an alien that will have no damage. Azimuth 23, what I think of that? Deku, well, it turns out humans aren't the smartest creatures in the universe, but they're the ones that most rely on impulses, which kind of ends up working the best for them. And since I'm human, well, that's... Deku looks towards Ben 23, who keeps trying to demand for his watch back, but Deku rolls his eyes before slapping him again. Ben 23, okay, I've had it with you. I'm supposed to be the hero here, and he's supposed to be the bad guy. Deku, you treat this like a game, when you don't even know half or what's out there. The Omnitrix and Shaketrix isn't a toy, it's the most powerful weapon in the universe, and it is not made for personal shenanigans. Ben 23, you can't tell me you haven't used it for personal reasons. Deku, of course I have, but not even yet 3/4 of the amount you have. So, I don't care what happens here since the only Fred in this world is you. Ben 23 goes completely quiet while just looking at a Deku. Azimuth 23 and Deku go back to talking about their devices. Deku, listen Azimuth, I'm saying this as a wheeler of the Omnitrix, not as someone you should take serious, but I don't think I want that to be anywhere near him ever again. Ben 23 is about to yell out, but Deku looks at him with a serious expression that sends shivers down his spine. Azimuth 23, may I know your reason? Deku, I've seen what he's done with them, using them as Mac and tools, and other things. I do not want them to be anywhere near him ever again. Ben 23, what the hell are you talking about? It belongs to me. I've done plenty of good with it. Deku, good, you mean using the Shaketrix for every little thing compared to mine, that living creatures, if you're going to keep misusing them like you have been doing? Azimuth 23, Izuka Midoriya, all the hero Ben 10, as the creator of the Shaketrix, I would like you to have my device. I know you'll do way better than the previous wielder. Deku, are you sure? Because I mean, once I take it, there's no getting it back. Azimuth 23, I created this device to unite all the species in the universe. A brat have been using it as a way to get famous, but I see your confusion. That's why I'll be resetting it completely. So you may be the only user it recognizes. What you do with it is up to you, but please do not misuse it. Deku, I can't accept it. It's not mine. Azimuth 23, by the looks of it, you care way too much for your aliens, so I am giving you this, so I do not destroy it. Deku closes both of his eyes before letting out a sigh, and holding the hand with the Omnitrix out in front of Azimuth 23 holds out the Shaketrix. Just above the Omnitrix, it turns into goo and leaps onto the Omnitrix. A huge sparks of pink and green start going everywhere before it settles the Omnitrix, staying the exact same. The only difference is where the button used to be for the device to activate now sits the second core. of the Shaketrix with 2 buttons right next to them, one being green for the Omnitrix and a pink one for the Shaketrix. Deku looks at it for a few seconds before 4 metal tentacles appear from it and stab Deku straight in the wrist, and then straight into his bloodstream. Deku clenches his fist in pain as vital fluid starts to trickle before the tentacles retract and a feminine voice is heard for the pink core. Shaketrix, new genetic code has been registered. Warning, will have to complete the reboot all parameters because of the previous user. Deku leans back in the seat. He feels hit, blood pumping like crazy before sorting himself out and sitting up. Deku almost forgot how much that hurt. That's when the same black portal that sent Deku to that world appears, and Deku just raises an eyebrow. You waves them goodbye before stepping through, ending up straight back in Raven's room. That's windy. Deku hears a gravel behind him. He's about to turn around, but then black tentacles wrap around him and slam him to Raven's bed. He looks around confused, but then it comes face to face with a demonic Raven over him growling. Deku raises an eyebrow before one of the tentacles rip off his clothes. The sun begins to set over Titan Tower as Deku walks out of Raven's room, slightly panting, but looking all right. His clothes at this shoveled and looking like they just went through a blender. The Omnitrix's logo is rad. That's when an alarm goes off. Deku walks to the main room and sees a few low-ranking villains robbing a bank. Deku quickly runs to his room and puts on his white hoodie and some regular clothes. He heads straight to the bank and stands upside when the criminals run out holding the bags of cash. Deku just stands there, making all of them confused. Deku twists the second dial and slams it down. A girl with short orange hair, a black bodysuit, and bits of orange for covering her body with her hair, covering her eyes, let out a growl towards the villains while Deku twists the regular Omnitrix and becomes a giant insect with clear green wings, a black and white bodysuit with 8 legs resembling green lightning bolts in shape, with a giant black stinger that pierces through the concrete. The Omnitrix is located on its head in between 4 stalks that hold greens, orbs resembling eyes. Deku Stinkfly. The criminals immediately pull out guns and are about to fire, but the wild mutt girl grins before leaping right at the gun, biting down on it, and using it like a chew toy. Out of 2 of Deku's eyes, a green substance covers the villains and quickly goes completely solid. Deku takes the back out of their hands and places it back inside of the bank. The Omnitrix powers down as he pets the female wild mutt. Deku, good job, Ruby. Ruby just smiles before returning. That's when the police comes, but Deku already leaves, but leaving a message on a note. The next few days, Deku eases back on heroics, but doesn't lack in training. He trains with both Omnitrix and Shaketrix, sometimes even using both versions of the same species for a better combat training. You figures out that there is exact peak of the genetics, but we've also human genetics mixed in for some slightly different outcomes. Deku biggest house that the female forearms named Scarlet is stronger than him, but less agile, and how has a shorter temper. Deku figures out Ruby's humanoid appearance gives him mainly human instincts. The only difference is they're mixed with her original species. Deku finds out that Ruby is completely blind, the same as Wild Merch. The only difference is a human or the parents makes it harder to notice, and unless you remove the hair, to see dark gray eyes, always looking straight ahead. Notices that Raven has been keeping her distance away from Deku, but Deku that up to what happened that night while having music blasting Raven water into the gym. But when she sees Deku, she's about to walk out, but Deku speaks up. Deku, okay, what's with you? You've been trying to ignore me both a few weeks now. Is it really that bad? Raven, it's just that's never happened to me before, and I wasn't sure if you would be mad at me because of it. Deku, your dad is somewhat devil, right? Raven nods. Deku, well, since like you said, your emotions are linked to your powers, maybe your powers are also different kinds of demons based on your emotions. I kind of saw this when that happened, since unlike usual where your eyes are black, they were violet pink, and you had 2 tiny wings forming in between your shoulder blades. So last or romance kind of feelings could be linked to succubus. It would make the most sense, and that would explain how you were somewhat conscious during it but had 0 control. By the way you're speaking about it. Matter, mutter. Raven finds her cheeks slightly heating up at this as a tentacle forms from her shadow and crushes a barbell, making Deku snap out of his analyzing state. Deku, Sorry, it's just some quirks do allow personality disorder that lead to situations like the one that you're currently in, and I kind of find analyzing abilities kind of interesting how I have at least 3 different files on each species in the Omnitrix itself, and that's without an entire file based on all in Omnitrix's French friction. Raven walks up to Deku, a tentacle wraps around his arm as she looks at him seriously. Raven, on the roof, midnight, don't be late. Deku watches as a raven walks away, her eyes a mix of black and pink. Deku turns to the other occupant in the gym, a green-skinned boy. Wearing casual workout attire with darker green hair and green eyes, he looks at Deku both surprised and slightly angry. Deku, hey Beast Boy, did I just get a date with Raven? Beast Boy, I've been trying to do that same thing for years. You come along and and you haven't even been here a full month yet. Yes, that was a date. I'm going to tell the rest of the Titans. Issei, too late, man, we've seen everything. Deku watches as Starfire Robin and Cyborg stand there wide-eyed and slack. George Marinette is stood there giving Deku a thumbs up with Issei, giving 2 thumbs up, one with his gauntlet and one without his gauntlet. Issei, Marinette, you gonna help Raven with the setup, or? Deku locks to where Marinette was standing to just see blank air with a smoke outline of her. Deku blinks twice before sitting down. Robin, okay, what the hell was that? Raven, would it even give any of us a glance in that way? And yet you just came out on nowhere, and now you're going on a date with her. Deku, I got 4 hours before I need to be on the roof, so see you. We skip to midnight. Deku is wearing a plain black suit with the tie having an Omnitrix logo in the center. His hair is combed back, slightly messy at the back. Deku exits the elevator to the roof to see a black tablecloth with 2 purple candles with a slight purple flame on them casting a dark romantic lighting. A Deku raises an eyebrow. Raven is stood there looking at Deku in a form-fitting black dress with a slit going straight down the left leg. Deku walks up to the table and pulls the chair out. For Raven to sitting, she hesitantly sits down as Deku pushes the chair back under. Deku sits down straight across from her as Raven snaps her fingers as 2 plates of food appear and they start eating. Deku can see a slight red tint on Raven's eyes and cheeks. Deku, I'm guessing Marionette set this up for you? Raven, yes, she did at first. I was hesitant to let her help, but she's a good friend. Deku, yes, she is. Deku and Raven enjoy the date. Few months, everything is going kind of normal. Helps to Justice League now and again, and Hal helps with other stuff around the place. He refuses to use the Omnitrix unless it is necessary. The day of the UA entrance exam, all of the Teen Titans are there deciding to see what Deku is actually capable of while trying. Deku is walking to the entrance. He bumps saying that to Marinette, and Issei casually wait. In for him, Deku gives them both a fist bump. They enter the exam hall, the 3 of them walking in there filled with confidence. They sit down right next to each other, that you being in the middle. They all have a piece of paper in front of them upside down. After around 20 minutes of everybody making that way into the hall, a timer appears on the big screen in front of them with this writing underneath saying complete the test in 1 hour. Good games. Deku and Marinette easily pass the test in 5 minutes. Issei completing it in the halfway point. They sit around, quietly speaking in Morse code for around half an hour until the exam is finished. As soon as the timer finishes, Deku, Marinette, and Issei get up and headed to a giant room filled to the brim with desks and chairs. They sit down in the same positions as they did earlier. They wait for another 20 minutes as a bunch of kids their age walked in. Everybody settles down. The big stage light turns on, shining against a blonde man with his hairstyle upwards and a speaker-like necklace around his neck, wearing a somewhat of a punk rock fighter outfit. Deku, oh great present, Mike, as the announcer. Of course humans are annoying. Deku looks past Marinette to see an exact copy of Izumi, except with 1 white hair, red eyes, and wears Decay usual white hoodie, but with the colors inverted. Deku, Albedo, I'm guessing he let you out of prison? Albedo, Azimuth decided to punish me by sending me to Earth, and anytime I want to use my Omnitrix off this planet, it will not activate. Deku, listen, I know we're kind of on buttons, but all of our differences behind us, and you are. And just be friends. Albedo, as much as I despise you and your race, but I do have to admit you know more about this planet than I do, so let's start over. That's when a tall blue boy stands and starts calling them out for chatting during the announcement, and then has it go at present Mai for having a 4th robust mention in a. Deku stands looking at him. Deku, shut up and hear about the fourth robot is probably just an obstacle, and there's not much information about it since, just like in real life, there's always the uncated factors in a fight, meaning that the fourth robot is probably just a giant obstacle made to check your situational awareness and what would happen if you did come across something you cannot beat. Deku watches as he goes completely quiet, looks at him wide-eyed. Present Mike. Holy cow, that was spot on the last robust. It's just an obstacle made to test your responses against a challenge you cannot defeat with brute force. Deku and his crew ignore the rest of the stuff and notices the exam split Marinette, Deku, and Issei, but Deku has albedo in his zone. Deku, Marinette, concentrate on saving people because we can't have your abilities getting out just yet. I have a bad feeling, and I think there's going to be some kind of rescue point system since it is a hero school. Issei, concentrate on lowering collateral damage and precise strikes, and limit your moves to at least 20, because we could be fighting for days at one point, and we need to limit what we use. And only do you know what? Albedo. There's one wearing, I hate to say this, but your reasoning and analytical skills are quite impressive for a human. We cut to a dark room, where all of the UA faculty are waiting for the students to get to their respective grounds. All of the Teen Titans walk in, making some of the UA faculty confused, but the bear-mouse hybrid sitting in this biggest chair in the room waves them to sit down. Robin. Hello, Principal Nizu. Nizu. Teen Titans, it's nice to finally have you joining us. But one thing I don't get, I've been sending you invitations to watch the UA Engine's exam for a few years now, but you've only just decided to join us? Cyborg. We're actually here to watch how a friend of ours kicks, but Aizawa actually looks like he wants to be there. After hearing those words, they all look towards the giant screen in the center of the room with a bunch of Deku is standing at the back of the swarm of students getting ready to rush in. As soon as the gates start to open, immediately squeezes through what gap is there and books at albedo, turning into Big Chill and flying bright through the gate. Hold of 8 one-pointers and rips out their circuits, making them fritz out for a few seconds before cutting off. That's when a few seconds later, all of the exam takers immediately rush in and just see Deku punching and ripping apart the robot with his bare hands. Deku, 25 points. Deku watches as a kid with a giant belt with a huge crystal in the middle holds his stomach in pain. After firing at 4 one-pointers, Deku runs up to the robot that's about to sneak up on him and drop kicks it before punching right through its metal frame and rips out the wires inside of its head. Deku, what's your back? Deku watches as flames hit a group of 2-pointers, then the flames immediately freeze them solid. Deku sees Big Chill, but red, orange, and yellow passing through some robots, freezing them solid. Deku continues rushing around, defeating them. As soon as it gets to the halfway point, Deku stops in an alleyway and pulls it out his phone. We cut to the faculty area where they're watching this. Nizu, that kid has ranked up 68 villain points and 72 rescue points, and it's only the halfway mark. Aizawa, and he hasn't seemed to use his quirk or whatever he's got since the only thing that shows on his student file is quirkless, but on his exam sheet where we ask for his quirk, he just draw the middle finger. Hound Dog, he seems to be pacing himself. Well, just like Hey, Examine 06, 39 Marinette, Depain, Chung, and 1594 Issei, Haidu, they seem to be pacing themselves well. If I remember correctly, those three actually were sat next to each other at the beginning. Robin, the three of them are like siblings, inseparable. Aizawa, what roles do they play with each other if they were a team? Cyborg, Izuka Midoriya is the brains and strategist. He plans for at least 3 different contingencies before he even thinks about making a move on anything. Issei Hayudu is the muscles. He's kind of stupid and a little bit of a perfect, but he has a heart of gold and knows when it's time to get serious. And it doesn't help he's got a creature sealed inside of him that also helps with his magic control. Then we have Marinette Dupain Chung. She's practically a mix of both, except she follows orders. She is smart, and she doesn't like people who fought their powers or anyone's even slightly cocky separated. They're all right, trust me, we struggled to take him down if it's one of them versus at least 2 of us. 44 free of them work together. They're practically unstoppable, and unlike most people these days, they actually practice mainly quirkless hand-to-hand combat. Raven, by hand-to-hand combat, you mean street fight rules. Midnight, wait, they fight dirty, like no-hold-backs, pull hair kick between the legs. All of the UA faculty see the Teen Titans nod. That's when they all notice Deku stopped fighting and pulls out his phone's cyborg taps in the call. At the same time, Marinette and Issei head into the alleyways closest to them and pull out the phones and answer the voices echo on the speakers so they can all hear their conversation. Deku, we're at halftime. I think we're all doing good when it comes to points if you follow my strategy. Marinette/Issei, spend the first half protecting people and attacking small groups and pacing ourselves. Well, if that's what you mean, then yes. Deku, good. Right, we're at halfway. We have around 20 minutes left. At 10 minutes, we'll use our abilities and show them why you don't mess with Team Ben 10. Issei, I'm sitting at comfortable 48 villain points. I have saved around 20 people. Marinette, 50 villain points, 21 saved. Deku, 68 villain points and 30 people saved. I think we should be comfortable to lay low for a little while we don't want to ruin their chances of getting in. When we get to the 5-minute mark, no holding back, wrap it up. Because if this was a real situation but last of 5 minutes of a battle could decide the winning and losing side, we all know that, don't we? The UA faculty's eyes widen. Aizawa looks at the screens with an impressed look, something that he never really shows. They continue to talk with the UA faculty, watching other students for a little bit. As soon as the 5-minute mark, its look around begins to shake as a giant robot, the same size as Wavy, appears from under the cities, cracking up the buildings in concrete and steamrolling down. Issei, things the size of way big. Marinette, so how are we going to deal with this? All three of them stand straight in the line of the zero-pointer with a smile on their face. The UW faculty means forward in their seats, getting ready for the show. Deku takes off his hoodie and hangs it on a piece of metal sticking out of a pile of rubble. Deku presses a button, popping up the Omnitrix core. Marinette stretches before putting her hand on her necklace. Issei stands there with both hands crossed, then he raises his left arm as the boosted gear appears. Deku, you know what time it is. Marinette/Issei, of course we do. Deku/Marinette/Issei, it's hero time. Deku slums his hand on the Omnitrix call, turning into a tall white creature resembling a sumo wrestler's build with giant arms, almost the length of the entire body, and black claws for the fingers and toes. Black, its legs are black, as well as a strip going from the bottom of its mouth straight to its legs. It has 2 yellow circles sticking out on both sides of its leg. It has the same circles on the back of its hands and on its shoulders. A yellow shell covers its back. Its eyes are placed just above its mouth, close to the top of its head. Deku, cannon bolt. Marinette closes her necklace as her body starts to float. Hunter eyes glow red. Issei, get covered in a strong dragon armor, slightly humanoid in shape. 2 crimson red wings are placed on his back as he flies in the air and punches the zero-pointer, caving, getting its entire head inwards before it blows up. Marinette fires 2 powerful lasers from her eyes, slicing the robot straight down the middle. Deku runs towards the zero-pointer before jumping in the air slightly and turning into a giant yellow ball. Spins in one spot, forming a spin dash, and rushes right at the zero-pointer. Deku hits it, but he gets flung back and bounces off a wall before playing ping-pong between the walls and the zero-pointer. After a few more hits, Deku pierces right through the zero-pointer and continues to roll around, crushing over robots. That's when a magic circle appears on the ground as an army of rock golems, but with molting lava in the joints, decorations, and eyebrow before rolling towards them and knocking them over and then crushing them. That's when a girl wearing a purple and black jacket and a little handbag on her side comes running out of an alleyway, breathing heavy. Deku stands there in his regular form, looking at the golems. Deku, Charmcaster, what's going on? Charmcaster, this isn't my doing. I'll explain later, but right now I need to stop that. Deku locks as she points at the giant rock golem with what seems to be a boy in the middle of the stomach. That's when a giant fireball flies off the robot, and he's about to hit Charmcaster, but Deku immediately transforms in a heat blast, and absorbing the fireball, Deku immediately shoots precise bullets of fire straight at the golem joints, making it stop and start creaking. Sums the Omnitrix on his chest, turning in a diamond head, and stabbing his arms into the ground, encasing the giant creature. In diamond, stopping it from moving, Charmcaster shoots magic rope, wrapping around the arms and legs of it, making sure it's completely immobile. Charmcaster, the kid's got way too much mana. I can see a wet, but we need him to be weaker. Deku on it. Deku slams down the Omnitrix for a third time, transforming into a humanoid creature made of a black stone with purple crystals spread across its body. Deku chromosome. Deku immediately runs earth the arm of the giant stone figure, and getting right to the kid in the center, Deku put both of his hands on the Kate, absorbing the energy from the kid. The goblin begins to glow slightly as it begins to crumble into black rocks with magma pouring out of it. Charmcaster pulls out a black bracelet. We have some inscriptions carved in it, and puts it on the kid's wrist to reveal a long white hair with green and purple highlights, diamond-shaped freckles in the eyes, and just below each cheek, black lips, black eyeshadow, a white t-shirt with black line going right down the middle, brown baggy cargo pants with two big pockets right against the knees, and red bulky shoes with black on the bottom, and a black stripe going down the middle. The kid's eyes slowly open to reveal one purple, the same as Caster's, while the other being emerald green. Charmcaster pulls out some purple dust from her bag and sprinkles it on the kid's face. The kid falls asleep peacefully. Deku stands there in his regular form. Since the Omnitrix timed out, he stands there tapping his foot, waiting for answers. Charmcaster, Izuku, meet Jenny, our daughter. Deku stands there completely confused for a few seconds before we cut to a younger Deku sitting inside of a bar looking like he just had a rubbish day and trying to drink his problems away. Charmcaster, and get the exact same as what Deku's having. Deku, I'm not in the mood today. Charmcaster. Charmcaster, don't worry, Ben Tennyson, I'm not here to fight you today. By the way, I've got you down in dumps today. Deku takes a huge swig of beer before putting the wasp back down. Deku, it's my birthday. Marinette is currently in school. Issei is currently kicking a phoenix. Charmcaster, in your blood? Deku, they don't care anyway. Never have, never will. Hell, I can't even get drunk. Charmcaster looks at Deku, slightly sad decorator for the next day, holding his head slightly in pain, before seeing Charmcaster in the same bed as him, with a small smile on her face. We cut back to present day. Deku swaps himself in the face and drag its hand down it. Deku, my 13th. Charmcaster, yeah. Deku F. I would be mad, but I know it's my fault. Half an hour later, Deku sat outside of UA. Charmcaster next to him with Jenny in Charmcaster's arms, still peacefully sleeping. Marinette and Issei walk out and see Deku next to Charmcaster. Marinette is about to close her necklace, but Issei stops her while having a sly smirk on his face. Issei, so you two had a little fling? Marinette, please tell me it isn't twice at. Deku, to be fair, we were still in Japan, meaning it was totally legal, and I never got taught about protection. So yeah. Marinette, Issei, meet your 4-year-old niece, Jenny Tennyson. Issei, so you're sticking to Tennyson as your name. Deku, actually I changed a little while ago. No, legally my name is Izuku Benjamin Tennyson. It kind of fits with the whole Ben 10 thing. Marinette, you just took the first 3 letters from your middle name, and the last name, oh well, so when was it exactly? Deku, remember my 13th birthday, where you have to kick the phoenixes, and you were dealing with whatever you did and went back in Paris. I kind of went to a bar, we met a chat, one thing lied to the next, and now I have a daughter. Issei, do we ain't mad now, we're not even surprised. Remember when that superstar kissed you? Marinette, remember when those twins flashed you back in Hollywood? Deku, now what to tell Raven? Everybody hears a fake cough next to them, and they see Raven had stood there with both of her arms crossed, but slightly looking amused. Deku notices Charmcaster's face goes bright red, and Deku raises an eyebrows. Deku, you two know each other? Raven, we practically grew up together. Hex taught me some of the tricks I know today, and it was before we met, and you didn't know till today, so I'm letting you off the hook. Deku, so, is this like a freeway or... Deku speaks very hesitantly, like working for a minefield. Raven and Charmcaster just shrug before giving Deku a kiss on both cheeks at the same time. Raven, but the next kid you're having is with me. No questions asked. Deku sees one of her eyes turn right as the other turns pink. Deaths out a gulp. Deku, understood. They all sat on the bench and watched the sunset before heading out. Deku then stops at the bottom of his house, building his face filled with annoyance. Deku, well, the only place I have is here where my parents live. I'll see if I can sort us out an apartment or something tomorrow too late to do anything else. Charmcaster, well, let's just hope they don't ask too many questions, or let's just say something bad is going to be happening. Deku, No, I'm not having you going to jail right now special with a little one. Raven, with the meaning to get a base of operations in Japan for a little while now, but never really had a reason to since we mainly operate in Jump City. Deku head back to his apartment. He sees the entire Yagi family congratulate Inazumi on getting into U.Aon with a perfect recommendation test scores. Deku slums the door behind him, letting them know his back. Deku walks into the living room and got lots of the Yagi. They stop and look at Deku before seeing Charmcaster, Jenny, and Raven. Inko, who said you can have guests over? All Might, where have you been for the last 2 months? Deku, F off. Deku heads to his room, followed by Raven, Charmcaster, and Jenny enters Deku's room. Deku quickly turns into Diamond Head and touches the wall. In a blink of an eye, a thin layer of diamonds cover the entire wall practically, sealing them in with a full 360 degrees. Deku powers down the Omnitrix. Charmcaster, what's that about? Deku, I've done it for years back through my own door lock. Raven, it's more sturdy than the magic circles I have against my room. Deku reaches into the cupboard and pulls out a spare mattress and places it on the floor there. Who is about to lie in it, but Charmcaster places Jenny on it. Deku looks confused before Raven gestures for him to be in the middle. Between them, Deku wakes up the next morning, the white shining through the window and reflecting everywhere. Because of the crystals, Deku slowly gets up, walks to the cupboard, and pulls out a dusty box and blows the dust off. And he places the box to one side before putting on a white t-shirt, black trousers, his usual red shoes, and his white hoodie. A few minutes later, Raven wakes up in nothing but a black set of sports wearing panties. She looks at you for a few seconds before casting a spell and forming her usual outfit. She looks at the box placed next to Deku. Decorate. A few more minutes as Jenny and Charmcaster wakes up. Charmcaster wearing her clothes like normal. Deku, hey kiddo, Deku says while ruffling Jenny's hair. She lights out a soft giggle before speaking up, her voice childish, but with a hint of maturity. Jenny, I'm guessing you're my dad? Deku, yeah, so I haven't been in your life. I didn't know about you till yesterday. Deku talks to Jenny for a little while Raven and Charmcaster watch the interaction between father and daughter. Deku hands Jenny the box, and she looks at it with confusion. Deku, for the birthdays I've missed. Jenny opens the box, slightly intrigued to see an outfit almost resembling hers. The only difference is instead of her red shoes are white football shoes with black stripes, and the bottoms being black. It's the classic Ben 10's outfit. Charmcaster, well, that brings back memories. Deku, it's kind of little promise we had back when we became heroes that our original outfits would go to our kids and so on. Deku quickly turns into Diamond Head and removes the crystals from the room, making it go back to normal. Deku walks out and stands by the door waiting for them to get dressed properly. A few hours later, Deku is sat at the dining room table with 4 plates of bacon, eggs, and sausage. Deku happily watches his girls eat before he digs in. Deku smiles, has finally getting a cooked meal, surrounded by people actually cared for him in a very long time. Deku sees the Yagis looking at him, their face full of disdain. Before All Might could say anything, a knock is heard on the front door. He reluctantly heads there to see a tall, middle-aged man wearing a t-shirt with the Omnitrix logo on it, plain black pants, with a limo packed in front of the driveway, with an old man wearing a professional butler suit with thinning gray hair and a small pair of glasses on. I'm here to meet with Izuku Benjamin Tennyson. All Might, sorry you have the wrong. Deku stands leaning against the wall where declare view to the door. Deku, I'm here. All Might reluctantly lets in the man, the butler following seconds later carrying 4 small boxes the same size as a toaster. Deku sits at the table, Izumi watching it in confusion and slight disdain. Bruce, hello, I'm Bruce Wayne. Deku, genius, billionaire, playboy. I know, what do you really want? Because you wouldn't travel all this way, just introduce yourself. Bruce, of course, straight to business, I like it. Well, during one of your visits to Gotham, you actually saved my life, and it's been hard to track you down until recently. I want to thank you for back then. Deku, I don't do heroics for the money, fame, or anything else like that. Hell, I didn't even know half of my merch existed. Bruce, Alfred, you mind? Alfred, of course, Master Wayne. The butler Alfred places down all 4 boxes in front of Deku. Deku raises an eyebrow before Bruce gestures for him to open them. He opens the first one to reveal a set of keys for a Dodge Charger 1969 decorations and eyebrow while holding up the keys. Bruce, well, I can't have you just right here around in that, since like I've seen from some clips, you don't like to use your abilities unless it's necessary. So a way for you to get around is a classic. Deku, I know what it is, things over 250 years old. Deku opens the second box, a set of keys, Deku holding in his hand, before looking at it confused. Bruce, when you decide to move out your parents' house on those keys, are free buildings one here in Japan, just go to Wayne's Manor, show the keys to the front lady, and she will dress you straight to your new house. All Might. Wayne's Manor, as in the most expensive apartment building in the whole of Japan. Alfred. Of course, Mr. Yagi see Mr. Tennyson saved not only Master Wayne's life, but two of his adopted children as well. So we only made it fitting that he gets 4 rewards fitting of the people he saved. Deku opens the third box before anything else could be said to reveal exact replica of his outfit. But as soon as Deku touches it, he feels that the material is way tougher and more lighter. Alfred. Oh yes, that's one was actually delivered to us by Batman himself. See, you also helped him with the Darkseid incident and help him fix up collateral damage, so he kind of asked US to deliver this to you. Deku, if you see the bat, tell him I said thanks. Deku opens the final box to reveal a set of documents signed by 5 different countries, allowing him to do heroics in all of those countries without 0 repercussions, meaning he's already a hero in 5 different countries. Deku, what is this about? Bruce. Well, I got in contact with some leaders of some countries that I do deals with, and they all have agreed to allow you to do heroics in all 5 of those countries without the police ever getting in your way, and if you ever need to get away, those papers also grant you complete 100% citizenship in all 5 of those countries. And the last paper in there is actually a signed document from the Justice League preventing any legal actions against you if you ever decide to visit any other country that isn't on your legal documents. Deku, I can't take any of this. Alfred, please, Mr. Tennyson, it would take a huge weight off the Wayne's shoulders. Deku, listen, I don't do what I do for the money or fame, do it because it's right. I don't expect anything in a return, never have, never will. Bruce, that's why I'm asking you politely to please take them. Don't think of them as a reward for saving us, think of them as a future investment for myself. Deku, since you put it that way, fine. That's when Bruce Wayne reaches into his pocket and pulls out a black bank card with a golden W in the middle and puts it down on the table and walks off. Deku picks up the bank card and it looks at it confused for a few seconds before putting it in his pocket. All Might, I'll be taking all of that from you. Before All Might could do anything, that you put all of the stuff in his pockets and heads out. His girls not far behind. Deku, Jenny, Raven, and Charmcaster head to the beach when they get there. Deku, hey Jenny, how good is your mana control? Jenny, I can control it perfectly. I just have too much. It kind of sparks out and goes crazy. Deku, remove your strength and just fire off a basic fireball. Deku transforms into Chromostom and stands there. Jenny hesitantly removes the restraint and puts both of her hands together before firing a small, unstable fireball. It triples inside midair before crashing and blowing up in a messy display. Deku, bingo. Charmcaster, so have you figured out? Deku, your body's got way too much mana. We all know that at this point, but your mana reserves are tapping into that every time you want to fire up a spell, meaning instead of using the exact amount of mana your body, using its reserves as its primary source. Deku snaps off one of the pink crystals on his body before passing it to Jenny. She hesitantly grabbed it and fires off a fireball. Is more precise, and the flames are a dark blue. They rip through the air with ease before hitting the ground, scorching the sand completely. Deku, just as I thought. Your unstable magic is because your body is using your reserves, like I said, as a catalyst, and anytime you go use your regular spells, it uses way too much, and the excess energy from it combined into it and stabling the magic within it. Chromosomes crystals can absorb energy. Using one as a catalyst, it will absorb the excess energy, and you could probably use it as a battery for when you need it. Jenny, can I try something? Deku takes a step back, using his body as a shield, and gives her a nod. Jenny holds out both of her hands as 2 magic circles appear, one crimson red and one crystal blue. Jenny starts speaking to incantations at the same time. Charmcaster and Raven immediately create barriers at Deku's request. Both magic circles collide, forming a purple one. She continues to speak to incantations at the same time. A second later, a spiral of Fire and water blast straight up at the speed of sound. Deku gets knocked back and then stands up. Deku notices the sky got dark before looking up, and his eyes widen. Superman flies there and land right next to Deku. He looks around confused. Superman: "Hey Ben, why is the danger? I heard a loud explosion from Metropolis." Deku continues to look at with a proud expression on his face. Superman slowly lifts his head and sees the giant hole in the atmosphere. After an hour of the hole being in the atmosphere, it closes itself. Deku finally looks down and his eyes meet with Jenny's. "Raven, what the hell did you do?" "Charmcaster. That isn't any spell in my arsenal." That's when two dust clouds I saw behind them as Marinette and Issei climb out of a crater they both created while crash landings. Issei: "I felt a giant burst of mana from this location. What was it?" Marinette: "I heard the explosion from Paris." Deku: "Go ahead, Jenny, explain what that was." Jenny: "Well, a little while ago I found a book on merging magics, but it requires a whole lot of concentration and the both spells to be incantated at the same time. So I kind of have been testing the principle for a few years, and when I eventually did get working, I've managed to mix create Golem and Inferno Amber, creating the fire columns you saw yesterday. And well, my magic was kind of control, so I couldn't control the properly. But since I had a catalyst now, and it works fine, I decided to give it a try again, this time mixing Water Burst, the strongest water spell, with both my natural flames and Inferno Tempest." She continues to muttering about the principles behind what she did and how it works. Decor is following along, but everybody else seems confused after the first 2 minutes. She continues muttering about the principles behind her spell for the next 40 minutes, then finally stops, looking satisfied. But when she looks at, she sees Deku giving her thumbs up, while the rest of them looking like she spoke 80 different languages at once. Issei: "Any doubts about her being your daughter just run out the window. Just..." Marinette: "I still don't know what happened." Deku: "She punched a hole through the atmosphere." A month later, Deku is walking down the halls of Utah. He's wearing the uniform shirt and pants with his usual shoes and the necktie loosely around his neck. Deku opens the door to the classroom. The chattering goes quiet. Deku stands at the teacher's podium, making the whole class confused. Deku stares them all down. They all get slightly uncomfortable, and then they sit down. That could give them all a quick knots before sitting. Guys, see a second. Later, Aizawa opened the classroom door expecting them all to be chatting in that, but when he sees Deku, his expressions slightly like they then goes back to his usual one. Aizawa: "Thank Tennyson. This is your first day at U. So don't make me make this your last." He pulls out 20 blue sports outfits with the UA logo on it. He places them on his desk. Aizawa: "Listen up, meet me outside. We're testing what you're capable of." Deku watches as a brown hair girl with a bobble-cut speaker. Achiko: "What about orientation?" Deku, Marinette, and Issei walk right up to the desk, swipe a set of uniform each before walking out the classroom. Without saying the word, everybody watches in confusion. Aizawa: "Hurry up and get to the field." Everybody slightly panics before grabbing their uniforms and heading out of the classroom. 15 minutes later, everybody finally makes it out of the changing room, and it heads to the yard to see Deku casually doing push-ups. Marinette and Issei practicing some light punches. Aizawa is stood right next to the field with a very annoyed expression. Aizawa: "Took you all 15 minutes. It took these guys 4 minutes to get dressed and get here." Deku stands and slightly stretches before standing next to the rest of the class. Marinette and Issei standing on both sides of Deku. Aizawa: "Tennyson, what's your service softball throw in middle school?" Deku: "Around 400 meters. Deku catches a softball with a blue ring around it. Aizawa: "This time use your ability or whatever you got as long as you stay in the circle." Deku walks to the center of the circle and pushes down the Shaketrix dial as a female version of Diamond Head appears, wearing a form-fitting black and white dress, her body looking solid, but at the same time looking like normal human flesh, but blue. Her hair is long and jagged, completely made out of diamonds. She holds her hand out as creating a diamond bath the same size as Deku. Deku: "Thanks, Crystal." Crystal: "No problem." Deku presses down the Omnitrix as he turns into a 12-feet humanoid dinosaur, slightly muscular with rocks forming elbow pads and knee guards with small jagged rocks on his shoulders. The diamond bat, seeming to be the size of a regular bat to him, Deku, closes his eyes for a few seconds as his body grows to 60 foot tall, with Crystal touching the bath, making it even bigger. Crystal grabs the ball, forms a pitching glove in a hand, before throwing it right at Deku full force. Deku is about to swim the bat early, but let go mid-swing. It spins in the air before Deku catches it with both hands, whacks the ball as a sonic boom. It's heard ripping through the air. The bat completely shatters, and Deku just shakes his hand. The Omnitrix flashes red twice before Deku stands there in his normal state. Marinette, not bad, but did you have to show off with the backspin? That's when a beep is heard from Aizawa's device. When he shows it, it shows 20,985 meters. Aizawa, hey, not bad, gets back in line and watches the rest of his class go. A few standouts him, mainly the girl that can remove gravity, the same girl that's been spoke up in class, and a few others now. And again, that's when Marinette stands in the circle spinning the ball on her finger. She casually frozen it in the air before closing her necklace, catches it, spins, and launches it. A crack could be heard as the sound barrier breaks again as it shoots right through the clouds and create a huge circle right through the clouds. A few seconds later, Aizawa's device beeps to show Infinite. Issei walks up to the circle, grabs the ball, and throws the ball straight in the air. The boosted gear appears on Issei's hand before a feminine voice yells boost. As soon as the ball goes right in front of Issei's face, he punches it, as the same feminine voice yells explosion. As a miniature explosion, half the size of Bakugo's, sends the ball rocketing through the air, and getting just over 10,000 meters. Mina, sweet, get to use a quirks. Finally, we got some time to shine. This will be fun. Deku, fun. Fun. Natural disasters, alien invasions, building attacks. Although, seem to be fancy, hundreds of people die daily. By natural causes, over 1,000 people die daily because of villain attacks, natural disasters, and other stuff. If you want a fun, go and get an office job, or go and do stuff that is fun. Because this is the real deal. You put your life online daily to protect people who can't protect themselves. That's what being the hero's all about, not money, fame, or women. Understand? Watches as all of one. A stands there, their bodies shaking in slight fear. The only ones not shaking are Izumi, Katsuki, and Shoto. They just glare at Deku, annoyance written on their face. Aizawa, well, he isn't wrong. That's why last place, or those who I see as unfit to be heroes, will be getting sent home and expelled immediately. Deku, seems fair enough. Marinette, it's better than finding out now than later. Issei, how if they can't even pass a simple test like this, they'll be dead in 5 minutes on the field. Aizawa gives all three of them a look of respect before getting back into it for all of the tests. Deku team floors them in the top 3. Deku, acing the test, being number 1 through all of the. Marinette coming in second, only using her powers when it's necessary, even though she could easily dominate them all lightning fast. She doesn't have to play all the cards at once. Issei manages to come in 3rd place through every test by the versatility of magic, his natural brute force at the end. Everybody stood there, their faces slightly pale and waiting for rankings. Aizawa, just be illogical to tell you rankings. A holographic screen of everybody's rankings appear. First is Zuko Benjamin Tennyson. Second, Marinette Depain Chung. Third, Issei Hayudu. Fourth, Momo Yaoyorozu. Fifth, Katsuki Bakugo. Sixth, Shoto Todoroki. Seventh, Izumi Yagi. Eighth, Achiko Uraraka. 9th, Tenya Ida. 10th, Tsuyu Ajui. 11th, Eijiro Kirishima. 12th, Denki Kaminari. 13th, Kyokujiro. 14th, Fumikage Tokoyami. 15th, Toru Hagakure. 16th, Rikido Sato. 17th, Mizo Shoji. 18th, Minoru Mineta. Deku, isn't there meant to be 20? Aizawa, currently the last 2 are stuck and will be here tomorrow. Deku, okay. Everybody takes the rest of the day to get to know each other and train, while a few of them had 2 orientation the next day. Everybody is waiting in class for the last 2 students. That's when 2 females walk in, one wearing black t-shirt with a red jacket, black pants, with the picture of the Omnitrix on the back of her jacket. Her long, messy brown hair contrast with her crimson red eyes on her wrist is a Omnitrix, but that is fake. The girl next to her looks almost the exact same, except wears blue instead of red with blue eyes. Deku, Casey, Trish, Casey and Trish both look at Deku before running up and giving him a huge hug. The red one speaks up, her voice happy and cheerful. Casey, hey, how you been? We've missed you. Deku, new girls have been good? The blue one speaker, her voice tired, but with a hint of excitement that is very, very. Trish, yo, we've been good. Nice to see you again, Uncle Izuku. Everybody looks at them confused. Deku, I met these two on a trip through the US. They couldn't exactly control their quirks. So I built an Omnitrix that kind of helps them to control their quirks. That is a small transformation quarterback. Can only allow them to swap between 5 different transformations, each that somewhat resemble my transformation. Marinette. Oh yeah, the two that kick Vilgaxes but back at Mount Rushmore. Issei. It's good to see you girls again. Ida. Why do they call you uncle? Issei. Well, we're actually kind of friends with their old man, and while they just call this uncle and aunt. Marinette. Even though there's only a year between us, we're quite frankly, we don't give a dance. Aizawa. Well, like Tennyson said, they have a minor transformation quirk, and they use a watch to so much regulate their power. So they're not either transforming into combinations of 2 of them, where their abilities are completely random and crazy, and then also to keep an eye on their time limit, since they only have a 10-minute one each. Through the day, everybody is getting to know the 2 new students and each other. Deku, Marinette, and Issei is sticking to their own little group. Later that day, everybody is waiting for their hero cross. That's when the door swings open to reveal All Might in his Silver Age hero costume, explaining that they will be doing heroes versus villains, and to meet in Ground Gamma. In 20 minutes, Deku heads to the changing room with his suitcase, the rest of the class following his lead. When the changing room, Deku takes his time, Ben 10's outfit from Alien Force and Ultimate Alien, and starts to take off his clothes. As soon as he removes his t-shirt, he hears an impressed whistle behind him. He turns around to see Kirishima looking at him with surprised expression. Kirishima, dude, save some muscle for the rest of us. I got to admit, your muscles are manly. Deku looked around and notices the boys barely have a solid set of muscles while he is rocking a full-blown 6-pack. While looking like a twig, Deku points his fun at Issei, who is almost the exact same physique as Deku. All the boys look at their bodies, slightly jealous. That's when Deku sees Mineta pulling down a poster that was on the wall. To see a tiny hole, Deku's expression goes serious as he taps the floor in a ribbon, making everybody confused. But a second later, Mineta get his eye poked out by a small knife. He holds his eye and screams out in pain. Marinette, thanks Izuku. Deku, get more motor plug. The holes can't have this happening again. Deku puts on his outfit and immediately heads out, followed by Issei wearing a gray trench coat, black t-shirt, and black jeans. He has his boosting gear out with red arm guard going from his wrist straight up to his shoulders, resembling dragon arms. A second later, Marionette catches up wearing her usual hoodie, but underneath her outfit is a red bodysuit with black polka dots, her usual black earrings. I know, red with 5 block dots on it. Deku, not afraid of people finding out you're Ladybug? Marinette, after this we're going to go public our other than finding out on Ladybug now. Then later, besides, I have so many film game for me back in Paris. They get to the training ground, and they all see that they're the first ones there. They could drags his hand down his face before sitting down on a bench. Marinette, so about your daughter? Deku, remember my 13th? We're dealing with personal business, and I told you it was all right. I went to Purple, tried to get drunk, met Char and Castor there. Since I'm technically in the full-grown adults, we had the one-night thing that ended up with Jenny. Issei, dude, you gotta have some kind of forces in the romantic department, because let's go through the list, shall we? There was an alien droid creation fame that was made to perfect the DNA of whatever absorbs. It absorbed Marinette's first, giving her female appearance. You ended up going on 8 data with her. But then since she's technically not human and she can't reproduce, she cut it off with you. There is that super starlet kiss you. But what else was there? All right, there's that alien princess. You know the forearms one, she has the out for you in the romantic department. There's also that alien planet destroying crazy girl, right? There's also that elastic go never knew where she went. And now you have 2 girls, you've got to have some kind of lady luck on your side. Deku, could it be Aphrodite? Marinette, I wouldn't be surprised if she was behind it at this point. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if she ended up coming down here and wanted to bang her herself. Issei, don't jinx it. They keep the small talk down to eventually All Might appears in his buff form, and it looks at Deku with slight disdain, still mad about Deku showing him up against a villain. A minute later, the rest of one comes out all wearing the hero costumes. Izumi, wearing a mix of All Might's Silver Age and Inko's costume Casey, and Trish wearing the exact same as Deku, except their jackets only go to just below the rib cage, and it's being in their selective colors. All Might gives his whole speech Deku, ignoring it. All Might, like I said before, today will be heroes versus villains in the form of search and destroy. The villains have 5 bombs spread across the city, and the heroes have to deactivate them before the time limit, but the villains just have to defend the bomb or incapacitate the heroes. By that I mean wrapping capture tape around them or knocking them out if capture tape is wrapped around you in a full 360 around any part of your body as long as the string touches itself wrapped around part of your body. Then you'll be eliminated and have to join me in the observant room. The teams will be free hero teams that will be working against each other versus one villain team, defending all 5 bombs. Everybody likes out and an excited year except for Deku, Casey, Trish, Marinette, and Issei. The teams get sorted, and by All Might's slight annoyance, Deku team is Deku, Marinette, Casey, Trish, and Issei, being the villain team. Ravi. Rest of the students are into teams of 5. Hero Team 1. Momo Yaoyorozu, Katsuki Bakugo, Shoto Todoroki, Izumi Yagi, Achiko Uraraka. Hero Team 2. Tenya Ida, Tsuyu Azui, Eijiro Kirishima, Denki Kaminari, Kyokujiro. Hero Team 3. Fumikage Tokoyami, Toru Hagakure, Rikido Sato, Mizo Shoji, Minoru Mineta. All Might. Now that the teams are chosen hero teams, you will each splitter with your respected team with a map of the city villains. You won't be getting a map. You'll have to rely on pure instinct on the area, and you'll have 15 minutes to defend all 5 bombs. Hero teams, you will each be given a code for one of the 5 bombs. Each code is different for each bomb, but each bomb will be having its own separate code. That's why there are 5 bombs and 5 people on each team. All Might heads into the observation room, decor, and his team nodding before running out of there, with the only thing being a locator on their wrist pointing out the direction of each bomb. They all head to the tallest tower, all of them planning all 5 bombs in the same area, since All Might never said that moving the bombs wasn't allowed. Deku, Trash, get to advantage point, and keep an eye out. You'll be at eyes and ears on the surroundings. If they even get close, you like me know. Trish nod before slapping down her Omnitrix as her body transforms into Big Chill, except the feminine, and with icicles coming off random parts of the body. Chief goes intangible and goes through the wall, freezing the wall solid. Deku, Casey, don't engage, but go around, because a little havoc, just be as annoying as possible. Casey on it. She slaps down her on the tricks, transforming into a red and black version of Accelerate, except more humanoid than reptilian, and her mask like a holographic display. She immediately rushes off, just leaving a dust of wind in the building. Issei and us. Deku, replay the waiting game soon as they decide to, I don't know, come in here and fight his head on without no strategy. We hit them with a 10-piece combo. Deku sits on one of the bottoms, overhearing his team's movements in a symphony of control and precise strikes. When it gets to the halfway point, an explosion shakes the building from the outside. Deku, Issei, define the bombs. Issei, got it. Deku slowly walks out at the building to see 2 of the 3 groups standing there ready to fight. Deku Ida starts going on a hero's rant talking about the right of justice and all that. Tokoyami allows Stock Shadow to come out of his body. Deku runs and punches Ida directly in the face, knocking him out. Jiro attaches her earphone jacks and to some speakers on her legs as a powerful shockwave of sound heads towards Deku, slightly cracking the concrete. Deku rolls out the way. Deku dodges her sound attack before standing right next to her and giving her a soft chop on the back of her neck, and catches her princess style. Mineta lights out an angry shout before throwing purple balls from the top of his head towards Deku, with Deku casually side-stepping the attacks before kicking him across a small distance. And he hits his head on a lamppost, knocking him out. Dark Shadow rashes at Deku, aiming to rugby tackle him into a wall. Deku casually jumps and lands on the back of Dark Shadow, slamming it into the ground, slightly dazing it. Deku the path of Dark Shadow to Tokoyami and kick him across the face, knocking him out very easily. Sato pulls out sugar packets and consumes the content inside of it. As soon as he does, his muscles bulk her. Immediately, Sato rushes at Deku with one of his fists pulled back. Deku immediately jumps into the air in midair, lifting his feet up to get slightly higher, and then slam down both of his feet on Sato's head as he leans forward for the punch, slamming his face straight into the ground, cracking the concrete. Jiro slowly opens her eyes to see a strong, muscular chest. Soft hands wrap around her back and her legs. She finds herself wanting to speak, but she's still dazed that her voice is not working properly. Deku immediately rushes at Shoji, pulls 3 of his arms back, and throws a punch. Deku slightly hops in the air, landing on his arm before Axe kicking him in the shoulder, making his body collapse. Instantaneous. Deku looks at the remaining members of the 2 teams. Kirishima hardens his arms while having his fist clench, and it's about to land a punch on Deku, aiming for Deku's chest. Deku jumps over him in the one smooth motion before kicking Kirishima right between the legs. He starts filming at the mouth before hitting the ground face first with his hardening stop. Denki lets out a powerful discharge of electricity that goes all over the place. Deku turns his back, protecting Jiro from the attack. After 5 seconds, the electricity stops, and Deku turns around to see everybody else unconscious. Deku heads back and to see a blanket covering an unconscious female frame. Deku just raises an eyebrow. Deku Toru? Issei. She probably snuck past you by removing all of her clothes, since technically she's not invisible to me. Issei looks into Deku's arms and sees Jiro just looking at Deku with a slight hint of pink on her cheeks. Issei points at Jiro. Deku looks down and sees her slightly blushing well in his arms. Deku walks up to a pile of crate and sit her down on it before pulling out a haircut and handcuffing her to one of the crates. Deku is over that up, get knocked unconscious. Marinette's voice is heard over the comms in Deku's and Issei's ears. Marinette, the other 2 are down. Deku, change of plans. Issei, Marinette, retrieve our teammates and apply first aid if necessary. I'll deal with them. Marinette, understand. Issei, you're the boss. Deku sits down on one of the crates in front of the 5 bombs. Eventually, one wall of the building get frozen over before exploded open. Deku watches as Momo and Uraraka run up the stairs and immediately getting a fighting pose as Bakugo, Izumi, and Shoto come through the hole in the building. Deku watches the timer slowly count down from 2 minutes. Deku, so how this is going to go? We just wait out the timer, or? Deku immediately squats down as a powerful explosion flies just past his head. Deku lands a powerful punch into Bakugo's stomach, making Chemist spit out saliva and have the wind knocked out of him. Deku's punch sent him flying across the floor, hitting the pillar right in front of the hole. But he came in through Izumi. It's about to use her telekinesis, but Deku froze some sand out of his pocket right in her eyes when she tries to use her telekinesis. It stops working. That's when the dark purple long lines cover her body as green sparks of electricity start shooting off her body. She leaps to Auckland's Deku, becoming a green blur. She's about to punch Deku square in the face. Deku shifts his body to its side before slightly leaning back as the fist flies past his face. Deku grabs her hand bends and slams her against the wall, cracking at a pillar of ice. Rush at Deku. The pillar flies straight towards Deku before the pillow could hit Deku. A green flash of light goes off, blinding them for a few seconds. Instead of Deku standing there, a humanoid plant person with vines making up the body, with the head being living flames with a black head made of charcoal, floating in the fire with green eyes and a slit for the mouth. The ice pillar immediately gets melted as fire comes from their hands of the creature. Deku, swamp fire. Well, it's not heat blast, but I can't complain. Swamp fire shoots off some seeds out of his hands as it wraps around his Shoto's body, restraining him instantly. A rubber cannonball gets shot out of cannon made by Momo, and Deku catches it with one hand before releasing a mix of chemicals resembling knockout gas and knocking Momo and Uraraka out without hurting them. That's when the buzzer goes off, with All Might reluctantly speaking up. All Might, villain team wins. Bakugo slowly stands up with a feral expression. He pulls off one of his goblets and throws it to Shoto's, catches it, and puts it on. They both pull the pin back, reveal a smaller pin sticking out of the side. Before anything could be said, they both pull back the smaller pin as a small spark appears from the gauntlet fire. A huge explosion in a straight line, ripping towards Deku. Deku immediately slams down the Omnitrix, and Shaketrix, a glow of pink and green, enveloped the room as Deku stands there as Diamond Head with a female Diamond Head standing right next to him. They both immediately create a huge crystal wall blocking the explosion, not wear out both for their arms being cracked, but slowly repairing itself. Deku, Frank's Crystal. Crystal, they messed up my arms now. I'm gonna make him pay. Before Crystal could do anything, Marinette flies straight in with her arms out and swams both of them straight into the crystal wall, smashing them right through it, unconscious the next day. Everybody is sat in class, with Bakugo and Todoroki sat in their seat, covered in bandages. Aizawa walks in with a very serious expression. Aizawa, we were meant to do this yesterday, but after the incident we have it put on hold till now. So, who's the MVP of that training exercise? Izumi. Obviously, it was Katsuki. It was in fact we would have got to the bombs. Deku. And yet you still lost. Everybody starts murmuring before Marinette stands up with both hands in her trousers pockets. Marinette, you know you're all wrong. It was Izuku. Aizawa. Marinette, please continue. Marinette. Well, as soon as the fight began, Izuku knew we were outnumbered, so he used to his advantage. He had all of us move the bombs to one location, so it's easier to keep an eye on. Putting over bombs in one place was risky, but at the same time, we didn't have to spread our forces too thin like I've got the exercise was planning on doing. Deku, may I continue? Aizawa, I want to hear your point of view on this, so go ahead. Deku stands and walks to the front of the class. Deku, like Marinette said, we were outnumbered, so I decided to bring all the bombs to one location. And yes, his forces were still spread thin, but not as thin as they would have been. I had the two people with power similar to mine on lookout. I had Marinette keeping an eye on the ones I saw most as a threat until my two scouts got took down. So I decided to go with Plan B, which meant having Issei, who not only is a good heavy hitter, he also has a stable state of mind 24/7. Toru, I just got one question. How could he see me? Deku, well, Issei technically has a mix of heat vision, night vision, and a few other kinds of visions, including a one that kind of negates invisibility. Toru, does that mean he see me? Deku, we're getting off topic then. I took down the rest of 1.A, as you all know, and taking a hostage. If this was a real situation, Bakugo Todoroki, not only would you have activated the bombs killing you, and depending on what kind of bombs it were, but by the trial, and by the way they were looking, they were high-powered anti-material bombs capable of riding out around 3-4 miles in diameter in less than a second, meaning not only would you all have been dead, but if somehow the bombs didn't go off, I was standing right in front of one of your teammates, meaning you would have been charged with murder of a pro hero, making sure you lose his license, and you'd end up in prison for life. Aizawa, you have a sound mind, and yes, all those facts were true, but that you missed that one's key detail. You knew barely anything about your opponents, but yet planned ahead of time. Deku, about that I may or may not have asked a friend of mine to do some research and give me everybody's medical record school files from all your previous schools and your family's medical records. Deku watches as most of their faces go completely pale. After a few minutes, everybody snaps out of it. Aizawa, exactly why do you have all that information on your classmates? Deku reaches into his bag and pulls out 17 folders, each one with one of his classmates' names. Deku, well, mainly for just seeing case one of us gets brainwashed and we need a way to neutralize or anything like that. But also after not even a few days with this class, yeah, they have a bunch of floors that need very much correcting. And these files are both ways to improve your quirk by training with it, but also a martial art that will suit your fighting styles well, or a weapon that will suit your quirks. And before you ask, you can always rely on quirks or superpowers or anything like that. Because if you take away Superman's powers, you just well know, and in fact this happened on several occasions. Aizawa, I wanted to pass those out to everybody, and I want all of you to improve by Monday. Deku walks down, handing everybody their Pacific files. You can walk back up to the front of the class before speaking. Deku, as you can see, each file is particularly made for you with specific diets that will not only improve your quirk training, but also help you gain muscle. For a few of you that are quirk reliant, you need to break that habit immediately, because if you were facing someone with Aizawa's quirk, you would all be screwed in a matter of minutes, because you rely way too much on just brute forcing with quirks. And as you can all see, there's also a detailed weapon description on weapons that should be able to be custom made for you based on your fighting styles that I've seen during our training exercise, and go over the footage. Ida, by the way, where's Marinette, Depain Chung, and Issei Hayata's files? Marinette, because we know what true combat looks like. We faced a whole lot. Bakugu, seriously, no way you freak nerd have been in so many fights. Deku, I've already showed all of you I have more than enough fighting experience. Marinette actually done some things back in Paris and has helped me with some people now and again. Issei, and I've got an ancient dragon shield inside of me with hundreds of thousands of years worth of fighting experience, and now again I can tap into those memories, so I instantly learn those fighting styles. Aizawa, anyway, pick your class president and vice president. After a little while event deciding on the voting, Deku's wins with 9 votes, Momo getting 6, and the rest wrote, either voting for Mineta, getting 2, Izumi, getting 2, Bakugo, getting 1. Deku, looks like I'm the class president and Momo's the vice president. We cut to lunch break where every video is eating Deku, Marinette, and Issei. I sat with Momo, Jiro, Albedo, and 2 girls from class 1 that be named Pony and Kendo. Pony, hey Izuku, she manages to say in a very broken Japanese. Deku, speak English if it makes you more comfortable. Pony, thanks anyway. Like I was saying, are you and Albedo siblings since you kind of have the same watch and while you almost look the same? Deku, well, that part is complicated, but to give you the short answer, no, we are not related. Jiro, so you dating anyone? Momo, we literally just met him the other day, and you're already asking him if he's got a girlfriend or anything like that. Kendo, I'm with Momo on this one. It's kind of a bit rude. Deku, don't worry about it. And to answer your question, yes, I do have somebody. Marinette, try being able to pick up 2 girls and have a kid with one of them or not getting even slightly annoyed by the other one. Pony, but aren't you a little young to have a kid? Deku, it's complicated, but I actually had her back on my 13th birthday. Kendo, hold on for that to be legal. That must mean you're. Deku, me, Marinette, and Issei Aquaclaws, but we have other powers that aren't exactly quirks. Pony, that's pretty cool. By the way, have you seen the fight between Ben 10 and Darkseid? Kendo, wait, Ben 10 had another fight. Oh man, I missed it. Pony pulls out her phone and shows the footage of the free new combo against Darkseid. Kendo, Ben 10, so cool. I mean, he's been doing heroics for years. Some even call him the heroic vigilante. Deku, well, I've never been called that to my face, so I'm not quite sure myself. Pony, Momo, Jiro, and Kendo both look at Deku, you confused before Deku pauses the image and zooms in on the Omnitrix. They look at it closely for a few seconds before not noticing it. When they look at it, they realize Deku's watch looks almost the exact same, except with the second dial. Pony stops and looks between it back and forth like an idiot. Pony, you're Ben 10. Jiro, although that means you've met Batman. Marinette, well, he's currently dating Raven from the Teen Titans, so there's that. Momo, and the other one. Issei, that would be Charmcaster. Kendo, hold on, one of you villains? Deku, it's complicated. That's when an alarm starts blaring. All of the students start panicking, except for Deku's table. They keep a calm head, but that's when the wave of students pushes Deku, gets pushed against the glass, looking over the entrance to see the news reporters on campus. Deku immediately transforms into Big Chill and flies above the entrance before whistling, getting everyone's attention. Deku, it's just the reporters, so chill out, okay, get back to your seats and let the pro heroes handle this. Everybody sorts themselves out, most of them being stunned by Ben 10 being in their school, many of them recognizing Big Chill from first glance. That's when Deku faces through the wall and flies straight towards the main entrance and transforms to normal before walking right in front of the news reporters. Deku, you know you trespassing, right? News reporter, we just want an interview with All Might, that's all I'll ask him for. Deku, you have exactly 2 seconds to get off the school premises before I have to take matters into my own hands. News reporter, well, do you have any words about All Might teaching? Deku, sure, give you a quick interview. All Might is a rubbish teacher. News reporter, hold on, you're telling all of us that the #1 hero is a bad teacher? Deku, yes, he is, because last time I checked, he hasn't solved one problem without brute forcing it, and he expects all of his students to do the exact same things he does go into a fight, and just overwhelming with brute force. All of the news reporters go quiet before another one speaks us, his voice slightly confused. News reporter 2, hold on, you're telling us, to symbol of peace, the man whom most of the world looks up to, the #1 hero in at least 2 countries, can't teach of high schoolers with powers. Deku, Exactly, if anything, he should just quit his teaching job and go back to doing heroics. Crime rate has started to rise since he became a teacher. News reporter. He ain't wrong. Ever since got out there All Might was teaching, there has been a slight increase in crime since they know that he's Udata now. We cut to Nizu's offers where All Might is sat in his skinny form, watching the live conference from right outside of it. He looks slightly shocked. Nizu. The kid isn't wrong. Crime has increased by 4% since you've been teaching at UA, and with your time limit, it makes it harder to juggle both hero it and teaching. So this is what's going to happen. You're not going to be teaching here at UA anymore, especially after the incidents yesterday. All Might, that wasn't my fault. Nizu, specifically told you to on 2 cavalry battle version, and make sure that those 6 won't place against one another if I do the end of badly for your favorites. So I'm going to have you stay until after the USJ, then after that you will announce on live TV that you'll be returning to heroics and leaving your teacher career behind. We cut back to Deku's is getting annoyed since 10 minutes of this interview has been going on. News reporter, come on, we have another question for you. Deku, this has been going on for long enough. News reporter, just on record, can you at least tell us what your future hero name's going to be? Deku, I already have a hero name. Deku slums down the Omnitrix, turning into XLR8. Deku, XLR8. In a blink of an eye, all the news reporters are stood outside of the UA gates. Deku turns into a giant blocky creature made of different colored blocks. I see extent, his arms building a giant wall where the destroyed gate is. The news reporter that was bugging Deku looks into the camera before speaking. News report. Well, it turns out not only is the symbol of peace currently working at UDOT, but the #1 vigilante who has done plenty of team-ups with high-ranking heroes in both America and across the world, Ben 10, is currently a student at UDOT. So what will be Ben 10's next role in Hero Society, and for the vigilante finally get a hero license? Or will he stay as a rogue card and do whatever he wants? Deku walks into the class looking exhausted before he looks at everybody watching the live report. When Deku hears all of his class watching the same live stream, Deku just drags his hand down his face. Marinette, nice going. Issei, I messed up big time, we all know that, but that was just a huge mistake. Bakugo, you're lying, there is no way you're the vigilante Ben 10. Aizawa, unfortunately that is all true, he is Ben 10 now, problem child. I do understand if you would like to leave you and continue your vigilante work. Deku, no, I'll stay. Let's just hope none of my villains get the bright idea to come here and cause trouble. Marinette, we're kind of just off the bat now. Deku, are you sure? You have kept it a secret for who knows how long. Marinette, spots on. Everybody looks at Marinette, who wears her Ladybug uniform. All of the girls' eyes widen since Ladybug is Paris's #1 hero, but it's classed as a vigilante since she doesn't follow hero laws. Issei, oh, don't forget you're a Kryptonian. Marinette, dude, I was trying to keep that secret. Aizawa, that's enough. They came here to get away from the heroic side of it and just be normal teenagers until they graduate. So if I even hear one more question about the heroic side of life, you will be immediately expelled. Everybody goes quiet, and Deku just give him a nod of respect. The next day, Nizu let the entire school know that they are not allowed to ask any questions or even bug Ben 10. All they will be expelled with a black mark on the students' files, blacklisting them from the hero schools after that day. Everything that goes back to normal until a week later that everybody is getting ready for class, until Aizawa walks in slightly more annoyed than usual, but slightly excited for this one. Aizawa, listener, but we're heading to an off-campus facility called the UST, where you'll be learning rescue training, so get over your hero costumes or your PE uniform on. I don't really care, be outside in 10 minutes tops. Deku immediately grabs his case, followed by Marinette and Issei. They walk down the hallway towards where they need to go. Deku and Issei quickly getting dressed. In just under 2 minutes, walking Marinette uses her super speed to instantly get dressed. They make it outside and stand by the bus. In just under 3 minutes, a minute later, Aizawa walked out and raises an eyebrow when he sees the 3 of them sat there. Aizawa, how did you? Deku, we learned to get dressed on the move. Marinette's got super speed, so for her it's almost instant. But for us, it was kind of a pain to always get dressed then move. So we don't have to get dressed on the move, cut in both our response time by 1/3 after we perfected it. But since the 3 of us practically wear normal clothes is our hero costumes, there's really no point for us to wear anything else. but I hear across students since they practically blinding as regular clothes. Aizawa, you have to teach me that problem child that would make everything so much easier. For minutes later, everybody comes rushing out and stand there. Deku, enter the bus by seat numbers and pick your own seats if you're not on in 1 minute. Do you have to run there? Were you waiting for time began 2 seconds ago. Everybody hurries us and gets on the bus. It's spreading out in small groups. Deku looks at Aizawa and gives him a nod. Aizawa has just gained a lot of respect towards this kid for not wasting even a single second. Deku walks in the bus and sits down close to the front on one of the seats, pointing inward. Marinette and Easter sit across from him. When the bus sets off, they begin to chat now and again before it's you speak. So, hey Tennyson, I usually say what's on my mind. So can I ask about your situation since I keep hearing Bakugo call you quirkless? Deku, Aizawa, it's okay. And answer your question, I'm quirkless, but I have this alien device strapped to my wrist called the Omnitrix that allows me to turn into any alien in its database, giving me the basic knowledge on how the species function, and well, I kind of just do it from there. Jiro, so how long have you been Ben 10? Deku, well, my first actual heroic was actually when I was 4, so around 11 years, give or take. Kirishima, hey, so what's your favorite alien out of the whole lot? Marinette, he doesn't play favorites. Each alien has a specific situation it is built for, and he uses it for that situation. Kirishima, so you don't even have one that you prefer to use? Deku, not anymore. Kirishima, well, my favorite has to be Diamond Head. He's one of the most manly aliens you've got. Jiro, I prefer Wild Mutt. Momo, mine has to be NRG. I mean the fact that he is literally made of radiation. Bakugo, hate to say this, but Wrath is my favorite. Todoroki, I like Heat Blast and Big Chill. Izumi, never liked them or any of his aliens. Uraraka, I like Gravitack. Ida, if I have to choose my favorite, it would have to be XLR8. Sue, I like Rip Joes. Thinky, Shock Squatch fan here. Tokoyami, I like Chromiston. Dark Shadow, I like Upgrade. Toru, gotta go with one of the original's forearms. Sato, I like Upchuck. Shoji, yeah, I have to go forearms. He's the closest to me. And well, I kind of fell off about my extra arms until I saw you on the TV as he. Mineta, I mean, they're all awesome, but if I have to go with one, ditto. Casey, I like Ghost Freak. Trish, way big every day. Everybody looks between Marionette Issei and Aizawa. Marinette, Blitzwolfer, Grey Matter, Goop, Humongosaur, and Alien X. Issei, Heat Blast, Ghost Freak, Cannonbolt, Wild Mutt, Spider Monkey, and you can't go wrong with Alien X. Aizawa, if I have to, Armadillo, Lodestar, and Overflow. I mean, to be fair, he is a slightly more better version than your other one, but I do understand that one's mainly useful huge fires, and then you have one for precision. Izumi, okay, what's this Alien X I've heard 2 people name? Marinette / Issei, simple terms God. Deku, I've used him in total 3, maybe 4 times. He's too powerful, I rarely use him. And that isn't getting to the forbidden playlist. Aizawa, that's enough questions were there. Everybody gets out and enters the UST. When they get in, they see a bunch of places simulating different kind of rescue operations. Deku walks straight to the edge of the stairs and stops his foot twice. Marinette, doors locked. Issei, magic barriers up. Marinette and Issei immediately stand next to Deathu and get in a fighting stance as a purple portal appears in the center, as a bunch of smaller ones appear around the UST, releasing a bunch of villains. That's when red portals appear as armies of knights with a shield with the infinity symbol on the middle of the knights pull out weapons that immediately grow right yellow as all the villains get ready to fight. Deku, you might want to stay back, some of these are our villains. Marinette, so are we going to see that new function you've been working on? Deku, Omnitrix Engage Armor. Omnitrix, Omni Armor engaged. A flash of green light as Deku stands there in a huge black and green suit of armor with a giant long sword on his side. That's when another portal appears as Vilgax and an army of robots come out. Vilgax looking slightly different, but still recognizable. Deku, what's my back? A few villains get to the bottom of the stairs, and I've ready to walk up it to kill some kids. Deku jumps straight down the stairs, missing all of them in midair, just to swing his sword as the blade cuts through all 4 villains in a blink of an art. Deku lands and swings his blade down the Forever Night Rush, right at Deku Paris Verifax. Before slicing their guts open, that's when one of the robots that came with Vilgax rush right at Death, and Deku swings his blade, cutting it in half instantly. That's when the space starts to distort as a bunch of portals made of pure mana appear, as a bunch of golems that coming out of it a man that starts floating out of there holding a huge stick with 2 rings on it. Deku, Issei deal with Hex. Deku backflips over a laser being shot from Marinette, slicing through a few of the Forever Knights. Deku continues to slice them apart before clown horns can be heard. Deku stops and turns around to see Zomboso coming out of a clown cast full with zombie clowns that start roaring and rushing after all of the villains ripping them apart. A green flash happens as Deku quickly dodges as his Omni armor disappears as the Omnitrix flashes red. Deku, okay, 10 minutes tops, I can have Adam notes for later. That's when all of the main villains surround Deku well laughing. Vilgax, higher life this Tennyson, I have brought all of your villains here. Deku looks around confused, counting twice. Deku, you forgot Joe? Zomboso. Hold on, Joe, sorry. I don't remember you have a villain named Joe. Deku, Joe Mama. All of his villains immediately get angry as the Omnitrix flashes green. Deku immediately slams it down, transforming into Humongosaur. Deku, Humongosaur. Deku immediately grabs Zomboso by the lake and does in the same way Hulk does Loki, slimming him into the ground multiple times before throwing him across the Ush. Deku immediately starts getting into a fist fight with Vilgax. My Deku, not playing fair. That's when everybody notices that the sky turns red. Everybody looks around in confusion while Marinette hits the ground confused, and Marinette tries to fly or do any of the Kryptonian abilities, but nothing works. Deku, a magical red sun, so you will be able to use any of your Kryptonian abilities. Marinette, got it. Spot's on. Deku continues to defend himself while robots and Forever Knight begin to rush at him, and small metal pipes in Vilgax's arms stab into his body. As his arms buff up to twice the size, Deku grows inside. Before rushing at him, Deku jumps and slams his arms down Vilgax, catching them before his fist could hit him. Vilgax kicks Deku in the stomach, sending him flying into the stairs and crushing right through them. Deku D transforms and looks around to see Marinette bloodied and on the brink of death. Issei unconscious with Lilith screaming for him. Deku looks up to see 1A getting swarmed. Vilgax, I finally have you, Tennyson. Now I'm going to take what rightfully belongs to me. Deku, no, it's not over yet. Omnitrix unlock master control code 00000, complete control 072000. Omnitrix, master control unlocked. Deku, Omnitrix ultimate heat blast. A red flash happens, as where Deku was now stands a giant humanoid pile of rocks and magma, with the rocks taking a dark orange-like glint, with the Omnitrix moving to his left shoulder, with 4 little sticks exactly 90 degrees from each other. In an X shape sticks out. Deku taps the Shaketrix as a humanoid woman with long hair tied in a ponytail that flows like magma. Her skin is dark with all the bits of red rock spread around her body, with her arms and legs being flowing magma with rocks. Holding it together, she wears a black bodysuit with white stripes with the Shaketrix call on her chest just below her neck. Deku, ultimate heat blast. Scorch replaced that red sun with a yellow one. Scorch, you got it. She immediately flies straight up into the sky right in front of the red sun and begins to burn her body, so bright it replaces the red sun, bringing Marinette back to her former strength and her injuries healing instantly. Deku rashes at Vilgax before Bill Cox could do anything. Fireballs form on Deku's shoulders where miniature volcanoes are. They immediately blast towards Vilgax in a stream of molten lava. Vilgax races both of his arms trying to block the lava from hitting him. Deku rashes in close. In stats, hitting him in the face as fast as he can. Every punch late enough. Small explosion to fire. Marinette immediately rushes at the villains, try to swarm Class 1A, and immediately rips them apart. Deku continues to land haymakers, as then he fires a fireball straight at an unsuspecting hacks the fireball, knocking his concentration and knocking out the red sun. Scorch immediately hits the ground, slightly panting, but it's all right. Scorch create a sort of pure fire before rushing straight at Vilgax and slicing his legs. Vilgax, out a scream of pain, in anger before Deku immediately ignites his foot, does a backflip using the ignited foot like a rocket, and kicking Vilgax straight in the jaw, cracking it, and creating a shockwave as Vilgax breaks the sound barrier and gets launched straight out of the Usch and straight past the stratosphere into the deep void of space. Deku turns to the Forever Night and immediately create a sword of pure fire before swinging it as a shockwave of fire. Resembling a blade slices through all of them instantly, vaporizing them. Deku leans forward, almost falling over Scorch, catches him as the Omnitrix powers down and flashes red twice before a padlock is shown on the Omnitrix core. Deku passes out, Scorch carrying him. Deku slowly wakes up in his room. He looks around in confusion. He then looks to his side and sees Scorch sleeping with her head on the side of the bed before a bright pink flash enveloped the room, as instead of Scorch, a female ghost freak with pale skin, long baggy sleeves, and a dress with the Shaketrix call slightly covered by a breath resembling her, eyes black and pink with long gray hair covering one of her eyes. She looks around confused before Deku sits down and looks at her seriously. Deku, how much do you remember? ZS scare. Ruby. Hair, just call me Ruby. And I remember everything about him, especially all the times he made us pose for TV. Deku, how many of the others know? Ruby, just me, I never would have got this conversation out of Ben. Deku watches as Ruby float through the floor, disappearing. Deku heads out of his room, Jenny talking to herself, while staring off into the distance. Both Omnitrix and Shaketrix swash yellow. Deku raises an eyebrow as a hologram of a green slime that looks like a puddle appears on both dials. Deku, Jenny, what's this? Jenny looks towards Deku, her expression going pale when she sees the blob on both dials. Jenny, I can explain. Deku, just give me the full story. Jenny, well, a week ago, I was doing some vigilante work. And I know what you're going to say. I shouldn't be doing it. It's illegal, and you could get in trouble. Deku, now I'm all right. You're doing vigilantism. But just please be safe now. Continue. Jenny, well, on one of my controls, I may or may not have bumped into somebody ripping a guy into pieces and eating him. Turns out it wasn't a person, but an alien inhabiting the body. And well, Deku watches as a black slime head appears at her shoulder. Venom. Hello, my name is Venom, and I am what is known as a symbiote. Venom explains how, in his reality, how symbiotes can select a host, and if that host isn't compatible, the symbiote woods that eating from the inside, but Jenny is a perfect match. He also explains how they need a specific chemical to survive that could only be found in brains and chocolate. Deku listens intensely and note everything down mentally and a bunch of other minor thingies. Venom. So yeah, that is what happened. Jenny. Dad, please don't make us saying it's fun doing what you do. Deku. Venom. Jenny. Listen, he's not bad, he just... Deku. The curfew is 10 p.m. sharp. We back before that. And please don't become a straight-up villain. Just keep to doing good in your own twisted way. Jenny/Venom. What? Deku, you heard me. Back before 10 bedtimes at 11. No later, young missy. Jenny. But I thought you'd be more strict about it since I'm doing illegal work and not even getting paid for it. Venom. Yeah, I thought you would be a little bit more strict in that. Deku. Listen, I'm not perfect, Dad, or anything like that. But I want you to live your life the way you want. I will be there to guide you and help you in your time of need. But that's about it, mysteries. Well, no, excuse me, I have classes to get back to classes. Enjoy yourself, kids. Deku checks the time before immediately setting off straight to U.A as Big Chill eventually that can make it instant outside of the classroom. While he sees the rest of the class learning and doing other stuff, Deku slides the door open before immediately getting rugby tackled by Marinette. He looks around, you see the rest of the class giving him thumbs up and hugs. Marinette. Dude, you're out for 2 days. Serious note, was up with Vilgax. Issei. I haven't seen him move like that since we first met him when he had those enhancements. Deku. It was those enhancements, but something was different about it. When they injected into him, green liquid came out. I got my hands on a little bit of it. I could test it and see what it was. Marinette reaches into a pocket and pulls out a piece of paper. Marinette, I had Batman check it out for you. Deku opens the piece of paper and has a look at it before his eyes widen and his expression goes very serious. Deku. 3 different quirk enhancement toxins, 2 of them are being a form of trigger and one specifically made for strength enhancers, a triple condensed version of venom, and some other chemicals that are unknown to this world, and 4 different liquid versions of kryptonite. Issei, so Batman film's working with us? Marinette, by the way, I checked the areas, and there was no sign of Kevin or Dr. Onimo. Deku, last I remember we sent Kevin to the Knowledge Void, and Dr. Onimo has been MIA for a while now. They sit down. Aizawa looks over the class. Aizawa, after that incident, you lot will be taking 2 weeks off. Take this time to train, or whatever sports festival will be taking place in a week's when you return, but before you even think about it celebrating, you still have the rest of the school day. For the rest of the day, everything goes peaceful until the end. Deku gets ready to walk out of the class, but then gets stopped by a bunch of students. Deku just looks and raises an eyebrow at them all. Deku just closes the door before turning around and looking around the roof. Marinette, escape plan B? Deku, too many people there. Issei, vents here. Deku looks towards Issei, who is pointing at a vent grid on the roof right above his desk. Decor walks up to it and immediately helps Marinette to grab it and pull it down. Swinging it open, Deku swings his body upwards, landing in it before holding his hand down for Issei. He grabs his hand before getting helped up into the vents. Marinette runs across the desks before jumping and grabbing the edge before flipping into it. They crawl out of the classroom through the vents, eventually getting to just above the hallway. In between a split in the hallways, Deku hops down and peeks around the corner to see Class 1A being bombarded by the rest of the students. Marinette and Issei hop down a few seconds later before peeking around the corner as well. Issei, should we have left them like that? Marinette, well, they wanted to be heroes, need to know how to get out of situations like that. Deku stands up and brushes away the dust off his uniform before taking off the jacket. Deku, so your plans? Issei, well, I'm getting a familiar tomorrow with the Occult Research Club. Don't worry, they still don't know about Lilith. Lilith, I bet you use what level control I have to stop him from and out about me every so often, because I'm not having them finding out about us just yet. I still have a suspicion about this Occult Research Club. Issei, you're just paranoid. Deku, listen to your other half. You might be harder to kill, but you've never let your master or mistress know about all your trips. I'm the only one with a solid working brain between the 3 of us. Marinette, hey, I have a working brain. Deku, you and Issei share a brain on a good day. Lilith burst out laughing as Deku gives them both a serious look. Deku, I'm heading to Gotham. It's not much crime in Japan, and especially if I need to brush up on some old fighting moves. Issei, so radio silence? Marinette, yeah, I think we should stay radio silence. Deku, for the best, but if any of our heavy hitters return, no holding back. Try to end that fight as fast as possible after giving us a contact collateral damage to a minimum. Tiki, so what is it, just going to be me and Marinette for a little while? Deku, Yin, brush upon some old moves that you kind of don't use anymore, because if we fight in the sports festival, I guess we will see who's the strongest out of all of us. Nizu drops out of the vents and lands right in between them. Nizu, oh, Tennyson, just the man I was looking for. I'd like to talk to you about something in my office. Deku, sure, got nothing bad as to do. See you at the sports festival. Deku and Nizu head to his office eventually. When they get in, Deku immediately sits down as Nizu climbs into his seat and looks right at Deku. Deku, can we make this quick? I have to get a flight to Gotham. Nizu, of course. It's about the upcoming sports festival, and about your watch. How many aliens can you transform into in total? Deku, I know it's over 1 million, but I have around 40, maybe 50 I use in total. I don't even know what the rest are. Nizu, well, I don't want this year to be unfair with having a vigilante with an entire armory's worth of random abilities. Deku, you want me to limit it, don't you? Deku says while leaning forward, slightly interested. Nizu, I see you get straight to the point, and yes, I would like you to at least limit it to at least 10. Deku, I will whip only for this year's sports festival. Nizu, well, I'll make sure to announce that during the sports festival that you will only be using your classic 10 as a handicap. Deku stands up and walks to the door. Nizu, there's just one more thing, but it's not really an order or some like that. It's more of a request from a detective to a vigilante. Deku, get to the point. Nizu, well, I have knowledge that there's a group of Yakuza currently experimenting on Quark Irizion bullets, now is still technically in the testing phase and won't be anywhere near ready now. We can't exactly move it on our own, and we need a valid reason for a search warrant, but video Annies don't have that restriction. Deku, you want me to go charging in there and bust all of them? Oh well, wipe them out, whichever is easier. Nizu, well, not exactly yet. See, the accuser that we are targeting are currently low ranking as best and will not draw any attention for another little while if my sources are correct. So if we wait until something noticeable sparks up, I'll get straight in contact with you, and you just show the meaning of hero time. Deku, only we have more than just a quiet rumor, but if anything about them do cross my path, let's just say Ben 10 will show them what hero time truly means. Deku walks out of the room a few hours later. Deku is casually flying over the ocean as Jetre as Deku is flying the air, starts to spark around him as directly in front of him a black portal appears as Deku flies right through at full speed before hitting a brick wall. Decor stanza and shakes his head to see he's in Gotham, but everything seems different. The air seems darker and the area looks more destroyed. That's when Deku sees a strong hand in front of him with a black bluff. Deku grabs the hand and gets lifted up by the man. Deku brushes off his jacket before seeing familiar black boots. Deku is about to speak, but when he looks up, he sees an 8 feet 9 inches absolute unit of pure muscle standing there towering over him. Deku, holy cow, Batbrick. Batman, do I know you, kid? Deku, well, if you look like that and sound like that, I'm probably in another reality again. Batman, we better get moving. That's when Deku is about to speak up as Batman's face goes pale as giant stomping could be heard behind Deku. Deku slowly turns around and looks straight up to see a 15 feet 8 inches man with green tubes spread out of his body and into his back. Deku, what the hell happened to you, Bane? Bane, what the hell are you talking about? I've always been like this. Deku, due to the size of Humongosaur. Scratch that you're slightly bigger. Batman, listen, kid, you can't fight him. He's way too strong. Deku, what is he? Something cool. Deku slaps down the Omnitrix as he turns into humongous, or he stands at 12 feet 7 inches, slightly looking up at Bane. Batman's eyes widen, has been raises an eyebrow. Deku, Humongosaur, looks like I'm almost as tall as you when you're using the venom. Bane, I haven't even used this stuff yet. Bane grabs the pipe at the back of his neck and twists it as his body grows to 50 feet tall as his muscles triple. Bane looks down at Deku with a smile filled with sinister intent. Deku shakes his head before his body slowly grows to 60 feet tall. As he looks down at Bane's eyes widen. Bane slightly panicked before throwing a punch square Humongosaur's chest. Deku grabs it. A huge shockwave happens as Batman's eyes widen before Bane gets slammed through 2 buildings, then rapid legally getting his head slammed into the ground till he goes unconscious. That's when Deku grabs the venom port on the back of his neck and rips it out. His body shrinks as Deku looks down at it before turning back to normal. Batman and Deku run away before sitting on a rooftop looking over Gotham. Deku, let me get this straight. Your villains are freaks of nature straight out of SCP Bloodborne, all that stuff, and you're just a regular guy working a 9 to 5 through decided to become Batman. Batman. And you're a regular kid in a world full of superpowers and aliens, and you found this alien device along you to transform into any one of the million species in its database, and it can scan new species at will. Batman/Deku. Pretty much. Deku, your life is pretty rough. Batman. And your wife is pretty awesome. So while here, Jermaine, giving me a hand on my roster of villains? Deku, no offense, I'm just going to do hard reset. Deku slums down the Omnitrix, turning into a humanoid being that is completely black with the Omnitrix logo in the center of his chest with free spikes pointing in 3 different directions on his head with white spots spread across its body like stars in a night sky. Deku/Bellicus/Serena. Alien X. Inside of Alien X, Deku is floating. They're looking at 2 floating green head. One is Overwoman, while the other is one of a man. Bellicus. Izuka, what do you want this time? Deku. Have you seen the universe I'm in? Serena/Bellicus. We will have a quick look. Erase this universe. They all stop and see a giant floating screen that's showing a panicked Batman looking at Alien X, completely confused and panic. Batman. Wow, what are you doing? Alien X. erasing your universe and everything in it. Batman. Dude, you can't do that. Alien X. Give us one reason. Batman. Because there's this. Batman says while pulling out a picture of absolute Catwoman. A small bit of vital fluid trickles down Deku's nose. Decor waits it away before turning back to Bellicus and Serena. Deku, I say we change up this reality just a smidge. Serena, I don't have a problem with that. Bellicus? Bellicus, for once, kid, I say we do it your way. I'm giving you control over Alien X while you change this reality. Deku blinks before looking at his hand, moving it freely as Alien X. He turns to Batman, who looks slightly worried. Alien X, we came to an agreement we're not erasing your reality, but we will be changing a whole lot for you. Alien X flies up in the air as he snaps his fingers. A huge pulse of energy spread through the world, changing everything. We cut to Darkseid, who feels a shift change in his perfect world. Batman looks around, confused, half expression, it all to be erased. Batman, what did you do? Alien X, we rewrite your entire reality because they know when you're surviving this thing how you are. Batman, so what did you do exactly? 'Cause I don't feel any different. Alien X, we need you exactly like our Batman, only difference is your villains are the exact same, but you also have our Batman's every ancient Tibetan monk techniques somewhere in your memories. Batman, wait, you seen I don't have to work a 9 to 5 anymore? Alien X, head to the mansion and you will see exactly what our Batman is capable of, or don't worry, you do have Alfred the Butler. That's when Alien X teleports straight out of their Batman, looks around confused before heading home since the sun is rising. We cut to Gotham in Deku's reality. Deku Tower ports straight into the Batcave and looks around slightly confused before a metal pipe tapped him on the knee. Alien X looks down to see Robin try to recap him. Deku transforms back to normal as Robin just blinks before looking at his now broken stuff. Deku, yeah, you should have swung so hard, especially to somebody who's practically indestructible. Batman, I thought you were on your way here through Jetray. Deku, there was a small spatial rift because of an unstable reality, and I kind of got sent flying through it. Mark II, you who had his life. It is the simplest way to put it, so I kind of altered his reality using Alien X teleported straight back here. Damien, you broke my staff. Deku, you whacked a metal stick and a bean who can rewrite reality, of course, just sticking is going to break. Tide, we both know you're only used that stick because Batman makes you train with it. Deku reaches in his bag and pulls out a katana made of diamond heads crystals. Deku, do I have fun with this? Just make sure you paint over it, since it's way too bright for any stuff operations. Damien takes it before swinging it a few times, getting a grasp on the weight of it. He then runs away, probably going to the training area. Batman, so what brings you to Gotham? Deku, wailed Bruce. I want to look after Gotham for a little while. I mean, you can still step into that. I just need to remove some rust. Don't worry. I'm not putting any of your villains in the dirt. Batman, sure, but could you shut up one issue for me? Jason is still kicking, but he goes by Red Hood now, and he doesn't want to talk to me. Deku, you want me to see if I can sort out your little family drama? Batman, yeah, if you don't mind. Deku, if I see him, we will talk. I can't promise anything. Batman, you're the Bat computer. Is that your disposal? I'll just be making more appearances as Bruce Wayne while you're here, taking care of my role gallery and that. Batman heads back to the Wayne Manor, goes over the road gallery to see who's broken out of Arkham. Deku sees that most of his villains have escaped. The Deku shakes his head before looking at the Batmobile. Alfred, Master Tennyson, may I know why you're staring at the Batmobile? Deku, well, I'm taking the Batman spot for a little while, so it's only fair I get to use the Batmobile. Alfred, usually I wouldn't condone this childish behavior from you, but you have got left away to take a little break from being Batman and be himself for a little while. So, I shall allow you to use any other Bat's vehicles, but I will be driving any flying or water-based ones. Deku, how to pack compromise? Deku walks up to the Bat computer and starts typing away at it. His hands move flawlessly across the keyboard, with every press being calculated seconds in advance. Eventually, Deku stops and taps enter as a giant red circle appears around a few buildings at the south side of Gotham. Deku, that humidity could be from either Poison Ivy or Dr. Freeze. Alfred, we be going to check it out. Deku, I will sucking. I just have one more thing. Deku types away again for a few seconds before a bunch of green miniature circles appear across Gotham. Deku. And that, my friend, is Crypto Night. It all seems to be gathered in one spot, so if whatever I remember is correct, then that should be Jason. Alfred, will you be bringing Master Jason back home? Deku. Well, not exactly. I will have to talk to him first, but has Batman ever tried killing the Joker after that night? Alfred. Not exactly, but he has done some serious damage to the Joker. Why do you ask? Deku. Well, I might make up a little life, and I need you to play along with it. It will not only get him back, but it will also get him moving back in. Alfred. So what's the plan? Deku. Well, this is how I was thinking about doing it. A little bit later, Deku stood on top of a building looking down at a warehouse with Red Hood in it. Deku transforms into a humanoid insect with 4 stalks for each eyes, with small circles on each one that I break green, with the Omnitrix on his head. On his back is a giant black stinger, as it wears a white and black bodysuit. Deku, Stinkfly. Deku flies to above the window of the warehouse before dropping right through it. A bunch of people start pointing their weapons at Deku. Deku shakes his head before shooting green goo out of his eyes, encasing all of them in it before it goes solid. Not even a second later, the only 2 left standing is Stinkfly and Red Hood, a flush of green light, as Deku turned back to normal and looks at Red Hood. Deku, have you been Jason? Jason, what are you really here for? Red Hood sighs while pulling out 2 guns and pointing them towards Deku. Deku raises both of his hands, making Jason look at him with confusion. Deku, dude, if I want to beat down, I would have went some of the other than Stinkfly. Jason, fair point. A few minutes later, they're both stood on top of it through watching the sunrise over the ocean. Deku, so why haven't you forgive Bruce? Jason, trust me, I want to, but I can't not win. That clown is still running around causing chaos. Deku sits on the edge of the building, swinging his legs backwards and forwards. Deku, he wanted to. Jason looks at Deku surprised before removing his helmet and sitting down next to Deku. Jason, I'm sorry, what? Deku, the same night you died, Batman was up for 3 days straight trying to track down the Joker. He even called for my help, because if he couldn't put him down, I would have to finally track down the Joker. And well, Batman rushed in there, breaking all of them like a twig, not even worrying about he killed them eventually. When we got to the Joker, Superman arrived and immediately took out the Joker. Me and Batman were about to end him ourselves, even though he was unconscious, but Superman talked Batman down, which led to me having to stand down. Jason, why don't you tell me this? You're joking. Batman would never break his no-kill rule. Deku hands Jason a phone with Alfred online. Jason, please tell me everything he said was a lie. Alfred, I'm sorry, Jason, but everything Master Tennyson has said was all true on several occasions. I have even offered to make the Joker's death look like a shooting gone wrong, since I don't have the no-kill rules. Jason, make me some hot cocoa. I'll be coming home soon, and Alfred, can you prepare my 8 crates of kryptonite? Deku takes back his phone as Jason walks off. Deku, did we just accidentally turn Jason into a Superman villain? Alfred, it would appear so, but I see you're not as worried as you should be. Deku, if anything, Jason wouldn't be a full Superman villain like Lex or somebody else. If anything, I'd just be a mild inconvenient, like an attack once a month or something like that, just something petty mainly. Alfred, let's just hope you're right. I do not want a dead Superman on the news unless he deserves it. And that was actually a decently fought out plan. What made you come up with it? Deku, well, he wouldn't believe me if I said I was the one who kept stopping Batman from trying to kill Joker. So I did the wisest thing and put on Superman, since Superman is like a Boy Scout, always trying to do the right thing, and Superman coming Batman down from trying to kill the Joker is not far-fetched. Alfred, by the way, when should I be expecting your return? Deku, I got a few more things to do there. I'll be back in a few more hours. Deku ends the call with Alfred before heading towards where he suspected Poison Ivy might be eventually. He gets there before his phone starts to ring. When he answers, he hears Jenny's voice on the other side. Deku, how's my young vigilante doing? Jenny, well, me and Venom are doing great. We're just currently playing video games, and we wanted to see how you were doing since, well, you haven't been home in a few hours in school, and did almost yesterday. Deku, right, forgot. You can tell your mother that I'm currently at Gotham, and I will be here for a week. I have some things to take care of, and so I can brush up on some old skills that I currently rusty as hell. Jenny, Well, when you get back, can we spend some time together? Deku, you want to take down some more villains that are slightly stronger than you're sure you can handle. And you want to disguise it as father-daughter bonding time. Jenny, technically is both. Deku, you sure we can post some all-nighters when I get back, but remember I will be working you for those last 3 days before I have to go back to school to the bone. Jenny, okay. Deku, oh, and try holding back on your Pyronite side, just using regular fire magic. Jenny, will do, so see you then. Deku, yeah, I will see you then. As soon as Deku hangs up, he gets another phone call from Charmcaster. Deku, hey babe, what's up? Charmcaster, did you know her daughter is currently running around doing vigilantism? Deku, she's actually been doing it for a while now. I'm guessing maybe a month now. But now before you get mad, she has to be home by 10, and if her injuries get even slightly too bad, doesn't matter if she can use healing magic, she has to come straight back home, and it's not allowed to go out for at least 2 days. Charmcaster, well, I guess like father, like daughter now about you being at Gotham. Deku, I'll be back next Wednesday, but I will be going over the basics of detective work with Jenny. Charmcaster, yeah, well, me and Raven want you all to ourselves during the day, then, and let's just say Raven's succubus side is slightly getting a little bit hungry. Deku, I see, please make sure you both learn some protection spells, because I'm not trying to have another kid just yet. Charmcaster, for the minute, yeah, I'll make sure we both learn that kind of protection spell. But it's just hope it's enough for her sake. Deku, well, I'll see you girls soon. Charmcaster, just remember we are open to more women in this harem. The only thing is the order is me and Raven on top 5 other girls beneath us. And yes, we will allow you with a max of 7, so you can have one of us for each day of the week. Deku, why are you bringing this up now? Charmcaster, knowing your Lady Luck, you would at least pick up another 1 or 2 in Gotham. Deku, I would argue, but I didn't even mean to pick up the both of you in yet. Charmcaster, we have a kid together. Raven is waiting on her time, and you managed to literally do her, well, not even being at the Titan's Tower for a week. Deku, okay, you might have a point there. Charmcaster, just remember, if you even accidentally get another girl preg, let's just say you won't be safe from Raven. Deku, well, tell Raven I love her, and I'll see you girls later. Love you, bye. Deku ends the call, his cheeks slightly tinted red. Deku looks at to the early morning sky. Deku, there's no way I'm going to get it any more girlfriend yet. Hold on, could I be blessed by the goddess? What am I thinking? That's too ridiculous. Deku looks towards the building with some vines covering the windows. Deku taps the Omnitrix, turning into a humanoid plant creature with black seeds the size of a large tennis ball. His legs are replaced with 5 vines spread evenly across the bottom. His one green eye has a giant Venus flytrap with its mouth open on both of his shoulders, looking like it's going to eat his head. The Omnitrix course, it's perfectly in the center of his chest, with his 4 fingers being long and sharp. Deku Wildvine. Deku walks towards the building and uses his plant manipulation to move the plant out of his way. Walk through the building. The vines seem to move out of his way with every step. Eventually, he gets into a big room with all kinds of plant life around the walls as a giant Venus flytrap looks down at him before slowly opening to reveal Poison Ivy with long red hair and a green bodysuit made of leaves and vines. She looks up and down for a few seconds before her eyes locked the Omnitrix. Poison Ivy. Well, hello, Ben. It has been a while. Deku, because the last time we met, I added untimed brainwashing function to the Omnitrix. Poison Ivy. So what brings you to my greenhouse? How about around 2? Deku, again, I was brainwashed by you. Poison Ivy steps down from the mouth of the Venus flytrap before running her finger under chain charmingly. Poison Ivy. But still, that was a fun night to me, especially the fact that you're immune to all poison. She says, well, gently flicking Deku's nose. Poison Ivy walks up behind Deku and wraps her arms around him before Deku feels her best skin against his back. The Omnitrix flashes before Deku stands there in his regular form. Poison Ivy. So let's make a little agreement. Go to Gotham peacefully. In exchange, I get to be your girlfriend. Deku, do you seem to hate humanity, but yet like me? What's with that? Poison Ivy. Well, you're not always human. Don't you seem to care about the environment, especially when you seem to go swamp fire and the wild vine? Little for night we had last time you came to Gotham, I just can't stop remembering. This, she says, well, grabbing Deku's PP firmly. She likes to go after a few seconds before walking in front of Deku with a charming smile. and runs her fingers up his chest. Deku, you tell me where all the other escapes are. I promise if you get out on good behavior, we'll go on one solid date. No mind tricks, no aliens, just the two of us. Poison Ivy, add a little fun on the night and you have a deal. Deku speaks, his voice very hesitant. Deku, I will have to get back to you on the fun night. So do we have a deal? Poison Ivy grabs the Dex t-shirt before kissing him passionately before pulling away and at licking her lips. Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn's on her own. I can't say exactly where, but we were supposed to meet a few hours at a diner for villains. Killer Croc is currently in the South Side, the sewers, minding his own business. The Joker is setting up a few hundred bombs across Gotham for a plan. He is next week against the Batman, and Freeze is currently at the abandoned oil rig just on the outskirts of the West Docks, and the rest of the criminals, I'm not sure. Deku transforms into Diamond Head and forms a diamond cage around her with a very thin layer in between the bars, making it almost transparent. Deku then transforms into Forearms and carries her out and set her outside. Deku pulls out his phone, calling Alfred. Deku, bring the police to my location. I am currently have Poison Ivy contained. Alfred, I will contact Commissioner Gordon and give him your location. Deku, track any chemicals in the air that even slightly resemble anything the Joke or Juice. Alfred, I have sent all the locations that even have a slight hint of Joker gas placed in the last 48 hours. Deku, 235 bombs. I'm going to need XLR-8. Deku hops off the cage as police sirens I heard around the corner and transforms into XLR-8 before zipping off and swiping all of the bombs in a matter of seconds before depositing them in the back cave inside of Batman's bomb chamber. Deku immediately zips out of the Batcave and immediately head to the oil rig where Mr. Freeze is. He runs to the docks and immediately transforming into Big Chill before he gets the water and just fight across, phasing through the oil rig stores and seeing a man in a containment suit with a glass dome and pale blue skin. Big Chill, have you been frosty? Freeze, if it isn't been 10 and I see you've gone with Big Chill, it's cool of you too. Big Chill, yeah, well, the Bats is currently chilling out, so I'm cleaning up Gotham for a week. Freeze, I see, well, it's kind of cold of you to interrupt me. Big Chill, well, I might be able to help with your cold problem. Freeze, really, how can you help with her disease? Deku flies over to the girl inside of a containment chamber. Big Chill, I could cool her genetic maker by turning her into one of my own species during any disease. A flashy green involves the room as Deku stands up with both hands as pockets that he walks directly in front of the pod before opening it. The liquid pulls across the floor as the guru wife back barely breathing with her skin ghostly white. Deku takes her hand in his and feels her body ice cold. Deku, Omnitrix fuse targets DNA with Necrophrygian DNA. Omnitrix, when genetics will be added to target, the target genetics will have to be broken down and reforged. Estimated time, 2 months. Data generics at damage may take it longer. Deku turns towards Mr. Freeze for permission. Mr. Freeze gives Deku a simple, not. Deku accepts the terms as a green flash envelopes her body. Her body completely changes as her outfit disappears, but 4 white wings wrap around her body, resembling a cloak. Skin turns dark with gray being around her face. Her eyes turn purple, and her hair is slight spots of gray. She slightly comes to, but then her body collapses. Deku raises an eyebrow before. Freeze, I'll be turning myself in with no issues. Deku changes back into Big Chill before flying close to the wall. Big Chill, hey Freeze, stay frosty. Deku flies away and lands outside of the entrance to the underground sewers connected to the ocean. Deku lions. Before transforming back, he walked down at the sewers every step, clicking. The eventually gets to a huge opening and casually sits down. That's when loud stomping is heard next to Deku, as a giant lizard man sits next to Deku. Deku, hello, Killer Croc. Surprised you're not just charging straight into fighting. Deku, I prefer to talk unless it's necessary. Killer Croc, I'm not going back to Arkham. Deku, listen, I get it, they see you as a monster, so they treat you like one. Couldn't you survive off while hunting in the ocean? Killer Croc, well, yakking why you ask? Deku, listen, as long as you stay outside and don't do anything where you go, eventually there'll be no reason for Batman to come after you. So just try and stay here hunting wildlife And let's say a few bad guys, all the acquaintances of like the Joker or something come here and try and get you to join Boom, extra protein, and that. Killer Croc, you're asking me to be a guardian of the sewers in a sense. Deku, listen, I know. So, this was the end of part 1 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.